Press start.
Well, let's start episode 160, not 161 like some dummy put in, and not 1600 like someone else put in. 160.
Damn, we really are
Numbers,
from the future.
numbers mean nothing to me.
That's right. All right, alphabetically, we've got Daniel here. Hello, Dan.
Hello. What's
Got
that?
like a new microphone pole or something coming in front of the camera.
Oh, I got a new poll for you. All right.
Well, okay.
Okay.
I don't like that at all.
We've got Derek, who's straight off the set of Something I Don't Want to Watch, with his robe on today.
Yeah.
What's up, Derek?
It's really dirty there. It's really sticky, right there. Did you say it's really sticky?
Oh
so.
boy. And
Hot, sweaty, and sticky.
Jeffrey is here, looking as classy as ever with his new little corner. I see the guitar, a nice lamp. He's got this background. It just looks.
You
Dude,
should
classy.
have a cigar and
Cigar,
definitely have a
Whiskey.
whiskey or something.
Yep.
What's
Yeah.
up? What's up, all you cool cats out there? Oh
There we
man,
go. There we go. Snappy.
Big-
Do you have a
Big
smoke
on
machine
this.
going on back there? That's crazy.
And then there's Kyle and myself. Hey, Kyle. We're just
Hi.
same old boring setup, Scott, over here. That's what we're
So
doing.
boring. Yeah.
Still
I
boring.
didn't work on it for a long time or anything.
I,
Just super
I, lo- I love I love your setup, by the way. I do
yeah,
love
I
it.
know. Thank you.
My setup
Kyle's like,
behind
"Oh."
me is still just like stuff
Current
that I
gen.
refuse to actually address in my office since we moved in. But
Hey,
my wife
look
is
at-
in here.
I think
Today.
every week you can just be like, well, someone has to rep the logo. And you know what? I'm following on that sword for everybody.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank
my,
you, Tim.
my wife came
Yeah,
in here
thank-
today and she was like, "All right, it's time to do something in this room." And I was like, "Okay." So we're gonna got a couple shelves we're gonna get. We'll make it look nice. We're gonna hang up a guitar. So there'll be a
Oh.
couple of nice things in the back
That'd be cool.
at some point here in the near future. But
Some
for now,
lighting.
you just get our current gen logo because that's the show that this is. I didn't even say that, but we're gonna dive into some new games. One specifically that came out this week, and then a beta of an upcoming new game that kind of feels like a new release with all the
Yeah.
chatter about it. It's pretty exciting. New movie that came out that we want to talk. At least one that we want to talk about, and then we're gonna play a game together, and then dive into some headlines. So you guys know the drill. Let's start off with the biggest game of the week, Resident Evil 4. Got released this past week. We already talked about the demo before, but this is way different. We actually get to play the entire game, the full experience. And I'm just going to throw it out there for whoever wants to kick this off. I'll just start off by saying this game is amazing and it's deserving of all the accolades that it's getting. I already knew that it was going to be great, even if all it was a better looking version carbon copy. I knew I would love it, but it is thankfully not just that. They added a bunch of stuff, including how you play. But I think it's phenomenal. But I'll throw it out to anyone else who's been digging into it. What do you think?
It's okay.
I say, Kyle, kick it off. You're the furthest in. Kick it off.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying y'all. Everyone, Jeff, did you ever play the original Resident Evil 4?
I played 0 of the Resident Evil
Zero of the Reds. Okay, I gotcha.
original, whatever.
I thought you
So
said I played Resident Evil 0. I was like, oh, cool. You played that one?
Yeah, what is,
That's
a
great.
weird
That's
one.
great.
Weird one to
They
only
didn't
play,
remake
yeah.
that.
I'm in
didn't start playing
I'm in
them
chapter
until
6 right now. Kyle, what are you in? Is it 7? where you-
7. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm right ahead of you at the
I
castle.
I didn't start playing any of them until what's it called came out.
7?
Biohazard. Yes.
Yeah, so,
Biohazard.
yeah, it's a good one to start with. It really is. Yeah, this one is great. I mean, all of us have played 4. I think we all really like that game. I think we all probably agree that it deserves all the hubbub that has gotten over the years. I mean, I think we're still using the third person angle that this game created, so it's like, I guess it did something right. So I really enjoy this game. I've played that first, let's say, third or fourth of it like maybe 20 times, because I just really like all the village portion of it or whatever. I've gotten to the castle and beyond maybe 2 or 3 times, so it's like I was really familiar with those first 6 chapters. So there are a lot of changes, you know what I mean? They're pretty superficial for the most part, and there's one kind of elongated section that they've added that like kind of has a boat, and you've seen it in trailers and stuff like that. But outside of that, like everything just looks better. They may have remixed some things. They may have changed where an enemy comes out of. They may have added an enemy, here and there that weren't there before. It's just they did enough, just like Resident Evil 2, where someone like me, who again has played that first section so many times, was on my toes. You know what I mean? Like it's one of the least scary Resident Evils, but it definitely delivers in the suspense and the thrill of like combat and stuff like that. Because man, they throw a lot of people at you. I feel like they're throwing more people at you in this version than previous versions. Like, maybe because they can handle it, right? I guess
that's what makes it more scary in a different way, right? This game is like the most overwhelming,
it's not terrifying, but it's intense, right?
Yeah.
I think
I
heard them say because you can move now, whereas the original you couldn't move while you're aiming. Because you can move now, they made more enemies, but they made them more aggressive too, which is I have noticed that.
They are very aggressive.
Don't forget, there's still that bonus when you shoot the lake a couple times. It's a bonus that you unlock, so make sure you do that if you haven't done that before.
I'm not doing that. I know what the bonus is.
Just do it.
I'm not doing it.
It's a free unlock.
It's a free death. That's what that is.
Yeah, well, that's you unlocking death.
Dan, how far did you get into this? And
I think I'm right where you are. So I'm like right after that whole scene where you're in the building and they're all coming at you from the bottom floor and the top floor.
Like Call of Duty zombie mode, basically.
Yeah,
Luis, and what do they call her? Baby Eagle? Is that what they call her?
Yeah, baby.
Okay, yeah, that part's a little bit overwhelming too, right? Where like none of the enemies specifically are difficult, but it's like they're all around you, and it gets like you have to survive for a while. And it just fruit comes in. It's like, geez,
it just keeps on upgrading too. It's like now they're coming in upstairs, and now there's like ladders,
and you have to remember to kick that stuff over, right, or block the window.
To kick it or block the window, you have to get like it's really cool because you can put up defenses and stuff like that. It's probably I was saying hey, I'm at the lake part. It's one of my favorite parts of the game. That literally is my favorite part of the game. Is this one part like where you're surviving in the house?
I thought I was doing great in this game until I got there. I did die. I was like, oh, there's my first.
Yeah,
death. There we go.
Yeah,
all right.
I don't deny it. That's a really tough part, and you really expend all your resources. So whatever you walk in with, you're not walking out with. Sadly, it's a resource punch. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I think the graphics are out of this world. I think I'm really glad they kept in all like the goofy stuff, so. Yeah. Like Leon, like in the city, when everyone walks off, he's like, "Where are they all going? Bingo?" What is it? Bingo night? Yeah, it's so cheesy, B-movie.
Yeah, a lot of his
I'm glad they kept that
like
stuff
after he beats them and stuff. Like sometimes he'll drop a one-liner that I'm like, "Oh, that is so good."
But like,
exactly. But you say "ugh" first, like, "Ugh."
But it's not as cheesy as the original one. This one's still like
cut some cheese, but
it's like there's homage of the cheese there. But yeah, it's the original one was like super. It was like wow, like this is like one of the best. Like people really love this game and like it's very important again, like you said, with like the third person perspective. But like, man, there's some cheesy shit in that original like game.
There is. That's true.
It actually still in early Resident Evil years where it's like they didn't really understand how to write yet, or maybe even still, I don't know. But
it doesn't feel as like as serious as 7 and 8 felt more serious to me in terms of like this is real and this is scary.
Well, it still doesn't what's his face is not cracking wise all game, Ethan or whatever.
Right. But I still think it leans more towards the serious than like Dan was saying than the original did. It's a little more like, hey, this is really happening.
They've definitely made it a darker tone. It's more mature, but it still has that feeling that you had when you played the original. They're not changing everything.
Right.
I think if they could, because of how they make 7 and 8, they would, but I know they were like, we can't do that. We can't change what this game was. We just want to make it better.
So Derek, you mentioned being able to move while aiming and stuff. What do you think about the way combat feels, especially like the new melee stuff too? What do you think about
that was actually what I was going to comment on. I actually love like how powerful Leon is. So I think that's another reason why they would have more enemies is because you basically shoot them once and you can stun them. And then if you're quick enough, you can run up to them and then roundhouse kick like a whole group of them. So that's why I like doing it.
If they're bunched together, you can roundhouse
if there's like 3 of them coming at me, I'll usually stun one so that melee like roundhouse basically option appears. I'll run up and then I'll roundhouse all 3 of them. And usually the one I stun dies and then the other ones like fall and then it gives you time to shoot them while they're down or whatever. I personally I thought Resident Evil 4, even the original. Again, I played it and beat it for the first time probably 3 or 4 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, I mean, I played the original. I just never beat it. I never.
Oh, gotcha.
I've said this in like our Fathers of a Grind show that all the original Resident Evil games, I played them at launch, but I played them with like my brother and my family. So they actually played the games. I just helped solve the puzzles because I sucked at the game. Once the games like got where the controls were improved, now I've played and beat every single Resident Evil game. So I went back. I think 4 was the last one I hadn't beaten in course until like 8 came out or whatever. But I think that was the last one I hadn't beat. So I actually went back and played it like 3 or 4 years ago. And even when I played it 3 or 4 years ago, yeah, there's some jank to it and all that stuff, but it was still a fun, good game to play.
It's a pretty good game, yeah.
But they have definitely improved it. They've modernized it. I think if they would have been like, well, we're going to keep it to the original and you stand still while you shoot and aim, I think we would be bitching. So I think it was the right call to allow us to move. And again, because you're able to move, I do think they had to adjust the AI of the enemies to make it more balanced. So I've enjoyed I'm only in chapter 2. I haven't played a lot. I think I'm a little over an hour in. I've enjoyed my hour. I expect that. My only gripe with this game when I originally played it was the back end of the game. So if the reviewers are not lying to me and they've fixed the back end of the game as far as the pacing and stuff, I fully expect to absolutely love this entire experience. So I think it's good so far. Oh, one thing I do want to mention is I think this Resident Evil engine might be one of the best engines ever. I feel like even though the games when I'm playing them, and this one specifically really looks like this. I don't know if you guys experience this or maybe I'm just weird, but when I play in this engine, everything almost feels 3D. Like there's so much depth to the graphics. Like if you look at the ground, you can feel the depth of.
Yeah.
Exactly. Gorgeous. It's very detailed. There's a lot of depth to everything, and I'm like. And I noticed this in Resident Evil 7 and in Village, and I'm really noticing it in 4. I'm like, man, there's just something about this where it just feels like things pop out.
Well, it accentuates the gore and stuff like that, too. Yeah.
Oh, it's very 3D-ish.
The dismemberments. Kyle, that's new to this game, right?
Like, oh, my gosh, that's so awesome.
I blew up some guy who was like about to chuck dynamite at me, and it blew his body like in half. And like you see like the little tendrils coming out of both sides of like, you know, the torsos, and I was like, that's new, you know.
I shot the guy's arm off, and then he kept coming after me with the other arm.
I had an arm off guy. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's super cool.
Yeah.
The detail of like the Las Plagas stuff, like as you're progressing through the game and when you're taking them out, right, it's like they either fall to the ground or they start to kind of have a seizure and they'll get back up in their heads like this, but then it goes further along and then the fucking thing's coming out of their head, and like the detail in like that like Plagas like tentacle-y thing with the blade fucking coming out of their head is like it's really
the way
really
it whips
good.
at you is kind of which is also scary, but that is kind of intimidating, at least, if not scary. You know what I mean?
Because you have to evade, right?
Yes.
When you're finally fighting the village chief or whatever, you know, and he goes into his Plagas mode or whatever, it's just like, this looks so much better. Like it's so gross and thingy, like very John Carpenter-y, you know. It's very cool.
Yeah, the RE engine is like, I mean, so because I was looking it up because I thought for sure they did, and I can confirm. Devil May Cry 5, for example, used the RE engine. That game is gorgeous.
I didn't know that. Wow, Devil May Cry 5 has some of the best particle effects in any game I've ever played.
Just like the characters just look really like it, because it's such like a fantastical setting, right? But like the characters look like real, like their faces really good, like detail and everything.
I didn't realize that engine was so multi-versatile. That's super cool.
Yeah, so it's a fantastic, and I mean they're doing Dragon's Dogma too, so I'm hoping that's using that engine. That would be fantastic. Like it's a fantastic engine.
You know, it's interesting. It's not even over
when that game comes out.
Well, don't need to
climbing everything, right? Climbing things a boner.
Make sure you close your robe. But the interesting thing about that is the my computer, which is I've talked about before. It's kind of in that low mid range of specs, and it is not being overtaxed by this game. And I've got settings relatively cooking. Like it's
called optimizing.
Right, it's optimized well. And I also played it I played it on my Steam Deck last night. So we were hanging out in the bedroom watching a couple shows, and I fired up the Steam Deck and I played about an hour and a half of this game. It was going to give the Steam Deck about 2.5 hours of battery life, which I was already surprised by. I was like, that's pretty good for a brand new AAA game. And the Steam Deck didn't get super hot. Like some games like God of War and a few others have really heated that thing up. Yeah. And you can hear the fan just like straining to keep up with it. And this wasn't doing that as much. And it looks and plays great. It fired up real fast. I was just like, man, it's an impressive example of like when you launch a game on all consoles, on PC, and it works on the Steam Deck as well. Like that's just impressive to me, even though it's not listed as verified yet. In my hour and a half with it, I'm like, this should be verified.
Did it feel like you were getting like at least 40 to 60 frames per second?
It was back down to like 30 because I'm getting like 80, 90 or so on my PC. It's kind of hovering in that range as I'm playing it, and it definitely wasn't as smooth as that. So I'd guess it's at 30.
Still good. I mean,
good.
I was just curious if it could get.
I did a couple combat sequences. I wanted to be like, all right, let me see how this thing really goes, and I'm not just walking around and talking to the trader. So I actually went and fought a bunch of enemies on the Steam Deck, and it held up great. It was
the merchant. The merchant is like more yappy now too.
Yeah,
he's very yappy, right? And I feel like he's in more places now too.
Yeah,
and I kind of always remembered him only have like opening his like cloak. Like, did he always have shops? Like,
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I just remember the really fat guy from RE8. That's the one I remember as I think back on these games. Like, oh yeah.
They're buddies. Remember, we got that reveal.
Yes, they are.
So I love that it works well on the Steam Deck. I also just I love there's like these light, I hesitate to call them RPG elements, but they are kind of, because you're managing an inventory and upgrades and a little more like Zelda. If you think of Zelda, like what little RPG elements are there, or at least immersive elements are in a Zelda game. Resident Evil games have always been like the Zelda series in a lot of ways that people don't recognize. I mean, you guys do, of course, but like people don't always recognize like, there's areas you can't get to that's a little Metroidy or Zelda-like until you have a certain item or a certain whatever, a certain key.
That is one of my favorite things about this series is that, you know, like you said, that Metroid type of element of like needing to you have to like go to a certain area to find a thing to then go back, and on the way back there's new stuff, like new enemies.
Right.
You just like locked doors, that's all it is.
Yeah, I like locked doors, exactly. I love locked doors.
Well, like even the treasures, because a lot of times you'll solve these puzzles, you'll get these pieces together, you find them all, and you unlock it, and it's a treasure that you can sell. And this is one of those games that makes really good use of its currency. Like the currency really is what levels you up, essentially, because your gear needs to be stronger. And so getting those treasures and holding on to the gems, don't sell those till you can actually inlay them into a treasure, and it boosts up the value. So I love that.
Replay value is phenomenal, because like that's and this was like I think this was really like the first game that really like emphasized that and made that kind of gameplay loop more addictive, right? Is going back and doing kind of the new game plus and like carrying everything over.
Yeah, I mean I remember people did it in 2 and 3 and Code Veronica a lot, but this game gave you a really big reason to do it.
Yes.
Whereas I think back then it was like more arcadey. It's like, how fast can I do it? How
this is like actual rewards for doing it, right? Like
this is like real rewards that actually carry over, which I think they may have in 2 and 3 as well, but like it just seems everything's just bigger, and it was back then too when the game originally came out. Then Mercenaries mode coming out here in a couple weeks, you know? Yeah, that's
for free.
I'm really digging the way the guns look and feel. I think the weapons are awesome. At the point that I'm at, I've really only had 2 boss fights and then several kind of like end of level encounters, like Kyle described with defending the house. There's a couple of encounters at the end of a chapter, but the 2 boss fights were a lot of fun. I kind of had forgotten about both of those, to be honest with you, you know, and they're different. They're like, hey, let's mix things up for you a little bit. It's not the same as holding off a horde of, you know, these poor Spanish people who are trying to attack you.
Poor Spaniards.
These Spanish people. But I think it's gorgeous. I think it's a blast to play, and I actually am finding kind of the story of it as it's coming back to me as I'm playing. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this piece and how this connects down. Okay, I remember this. Like, it's starting to kind of come back to me, because I haven't played it since I played it on the Wii, probably 15 years ago or whatever that was.
I haven't played in a good while fully. I think I started to replay it like a couple of years ago. Like then something else came. I think it was just like a moment where I was like, oh, I can play something, and I was just like, let me start this up. But Yeah, it had been many years since I replayed the game, so.
But I'm enjoying it. Like I was like, oh yeah, I like the storyline. It's pretty good. Like it's interesting enough to keep driving you forward, and the characters are cool. And already, Baby Eagle is much less annoying than I remember from the original.
She's way less annoying. Yeah. And like you have less places to hide her and stuff like that. Like the AI, her AI is just better, you know.
Yeah, you don't have to heal her now too, which is good.
Yeah, you can just pick her up after she gets down. It's pretty lenient, I would even say. You know, it's
they
made a part of the game I hated like very, you know, good. Yeah, and you can tell her to give me space.
Yeah, tell you give me space, and then usually she kind of stays out of harm's way for a little while at least. But you know, sometimes they'll pick her up and start carrying her around. But
yeah, you got to get that trophy somehow, you know, when they start picking her up and you shoot her. So.
I like in the beginning though, like, and this is why I'm really enjoying the remakes too, is like because like they're just kind of doing them, knocking them out one by one, and they're connecting them, and they're actually using like footage of like in the beginning there with Leon's story, how he's explaining everything that went down in Raccoon City.
That's right.
And it's actually showing imagery of that, and then like cutting to him like kind of doing the training that he was doing. Yeah, was
that imagery right out of the RE2 remake?
Yep.
Yeah. With Raccoon City and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Because a 4 used the original 2, which looked like, because I remember when they flashed back to it, I'm like,
like, oh,
that was like at least one console generation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before a major 3D leap, you know, so it's
right, yeah.
They're like, remember this? And everyone's like, ugh.
Yeah, God.
Somebody who's never played those, they're like, what the hell is this?
What is that? Yeah. So overall, of course, excellent game. This is kind of my main game alongside with a couple other ones I'm wrapping up, but and I'll talk about those later. But really, really loving it. I think it's fair to say. It's not the only 4th installment of a popular franchise that is on the way. Diablo 4. Listen, Diablo 4 isn't out yet, but we're going to talk about it for a few minutes because at least 3 of you, and Dan, I don't know, are you playing the beta for Diablo 4?
Played the beta last weekend. For a couple hours, yeah.
All right, so then all 4 of you have played it at least a little bit. 3 of you are playing it a lot more this weekend and really excited about it. So I wanted to throw it out there. What are your thoughts on Diablo? And we'll talk about Diablo 4 again in June when it fully releases, but might as well chat about our thoughts on the beta. Jeff, since you didn't play Resident Evil 4, I'll throw it to you first. Diablo 4, this is your first time with this franchise. What do you think about this beta so far?
Yeah, I haven't played it once, but I've seen my brother play 3 for countless hours. And I always knew that it would be something that I would enjoy. It was just the RPG elements and like the gear inventory management and all that stuff was just like, I don't know if I'm going to play, so I'm ready to do that yet. That was back then when 3 came out, which was forever ago.
Yeah,
so,
like 8 years ago. Or
yeah.
So
I mean, you know, obviously my gaming habits have changed. So this was the fact that it was it was open beta and you didn't have to pre-order it. It was like, cool. Every excuse to try it for free. The latest and greatest version of this type of game. So that's why I jumped into it. And I've only been playing Sorcerer. I know there's great reasons to go through and play the other classes that are available, and so far there are 5. I chose Sorcerer, which is primarily ranged attacks, but you can, you know, apply certain skills that allow you close range attacks or shields or what have you that can help you out. Man, I freaking love it, man. I'm just so addicted. It's the whole like sense of exploration that Hogwarts Legacy. It's the same exact feeling I had playing Hogwarts Legacy and going, what's this over here? Oh, what's this about? Oh, there's enemies in here. I'm gonna go kill them real quick. Except, you know, in this world it makes more sense because you're fighting like demons and things from hell. and in Hogwarts you're a high school student and you're killing people, but whatever.
Hey, listen, don't think
you only have Ranrock to blame for this. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving it so far. I think I have to watch a YouTube video or something on the story and some of the jargony stuff about the world itself, because I do feel a little lost sometimes when they start talking about some of their religions and stuff like that. In each town, it's kind of different. I've discovered like 3 or 4 different towns at this point. Some are major and some are just like little tiny hubs that you unlock along the way from dungeon to dungeon or mission to mission. I've done like a couple dungeons too. Level 14. I haven't really switched, like I said, so I probably should but that's gonna have to wait until the full game comes out.
You playing mostly solo, Jeff, or you teaming up with anybody?
Solo, but I pretty much just run into people. Sometimes I'll run into somebody doing something, and we'll just do a world event together. And because
like you can see other players freely as you're playing.
Yeah, it's like Destiny 2.
It's like Destiny 2, but and to keep like the bandwidth down or whatever, people start appearing in your game closer to towns and world events. So if you're out in the sticks, like people aren't going to load in or whatever to kind of give you that feel of isolation that you're on an adventure in a place that not a lot of people go to. Right. But if you're stumbling upon like a world event, or if you're nearby one, or you're near a town, you'll see people popping up everywhere. Yeah. And y'all can run together, y'all can emote together, you can join a group right then and there together. They do a really good job of making it very easy to.
You mentioned the emote. I think it's really funny that they call it emotes, and you're really just saying a line, and you're like,
hi.
Yeah, it's as soon as it's actually there was a spawn point in the first city that you get to, which is like it's the biggest city that you could possibly get to, in the first part of the story. And at the spawn point, everybody's just spamming taunt, and they're all saying the same thing over and over again. It's so freaking funny. I will show you blood and destruction or whatever. It's and of course I joined the party because I'm an idiot too, and I like to be silly. But yeah, everybody's just spamming their taunts or their emotes. It's so funny.
That's what actually interested me in this version of Diablo, because as I've said before, never been a Diablo fan. I bought Diablo 3. I played actually a good amount of it, mainly co-op with like Rob and Jesse White and stuff like that, but I really just didn't care about the game. But this one, one of the big things that intrigued me, so this is before I actually played it, was knowing that it was going to have like world events, and there would be the opportunity to just like basically play with other people if you want to, which is why I play Destiny 2. I've said it 1,000 times. Yes, I do most of the stuff in Destiny 2 solo, but Destiny 2 is my like turn off my brain, let's go play a strike. And I like strikes because you're dependent on other people, and those people are strangers. But because the task is pretty simple, everybody generally, I've rarely had terrible teammates, generally plays together very well, and we get the mission accomplished. In fact, Destiny 2's improved. They actually allow you to give feedback after every strike. Nice. So you can reward the people that you're playing with, so it like lets them know they did a good job. So if somebody's trash or they don't play at all.
Another game did that recently too. That's multiplayer only. I can't remember who it is though. It might have been Halo actually. Halo Infinite I think was like, I like this person. Let's stay with this guy or whatever. Like,
it's really cool that they're doing that. But that's what intrigued me about giving this one a shot. And then when I logged in and started playing it last night, I really did go into it with the intention of, I'm just going to see if this is something I'm going to buy. I'm just going to play it for 20 or 30 minutes. I'm not going to play it long. I said the
same thing. Yes, absolutely.
And then, so I started playing it like 10:30 at night, and then I logged off at 1 in the morning. And I was like, and it was one of those experiences where I'm fully aware. Yeah, I'm fully aware when I'm playing a game, like what time it is. It was like I was literally like, 1 a.m.?
Yeah.
How long have I been playing this? And then I was like, oh, I played for 2.5 hours.
Yep.
You open the window shades, you're like, I
messaged Joe on the chat that, like, when I woke up this morning, I was like, I can't believe I straight up just like turned on that game and did not look at the clock one time during my session.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah, it's a great feeling too, though. Yeah, it's easy to get lost in the game. It's easy to tell yourself one more thing. I just got to go do this one more thing. It's really, what's this thing over here near my mission? Like you just immediately get like just sucked into every.
And you can quit anywhere. Like if you want to just turn it off, like you'll load right where you left off, right in front of that thing you're about to do or whatever, without needing to go to like a. So there's no reason that I need to just get there so it saves. You're choosing to do one more thing.
That's if you're able to log out like normally. But if you get this is a problem that they had last weekend too on Friday and this weekend. Was on Friday, it was a mess. People kept getting disconnected, and then when you get disconnected, you have to like wait in the queue again for another 30 minutes, and then you don't get thrown into where you were. You kind of have to backtrack and do a lot of the same stuff. Even though your level and your gear is the same, and it's saved. It saved your gear and your level, but it didn't save your progress like at all.
Yeah.
So that's what happens when you disconnect. But fortunately, they ironed all that out by the time I jumped in at the same time Derek did last night. Everything.
I
think
never
it
got
was a load
booted.
balancing issue yesterday during the afternoon, and then they resolved it once they saw what the player load was going to look like consistently.
Mhm.
And ever since then, I've been connected right in. I haven't been kicked out one time. It's been really smooth. But that first day was really rough for both weekends.
Yeah.
But the big thing I want to compliment on this game, aside from, like I said, I like the fact that I can just play with other people without like actually having to say, "Hey, friends, do you want to play with me?"
Yeah.
Is I was actually blown away by like the presentation. I like the story so far.
So
again,
It's
I'm not
really
like deep into the story. It's just the beginning, but I think they've solidified like a cool villain. Like
Oh, yeah.
I think she's cool, and I want to know why she's doing what she's doing, and
I mean,
why she's doing it the way she's doing it.
Mhm.
Lilith
Aside
can
from
get it, right? I mean,
yeah,
we're all on the same
aside from
boat.
that, she is a demon, but like
I mean,
it's so far it's intriguing. I like the
She's the new
character.
internet mommy. I've heard. I
Yes.
put my ear to the ground. I did hear that. Yeah.
This every time
my
I see
ears to the ground.
every time I see a character like that, I think of Dean and Community. Like, this better not awaken anything in me.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
you, like you were
I
saying,
love
Chris,
that line.
you were saying good presentation, but like even the music's absolutely excellent. Like it's so
Yeah.
good. Everything just feels really expensive and big, and
Dude, yeah,
even
the
the new
cinematics especially, yeah.
even the new flourishes, like in Diablo 3, like you would go up to someone and start talking to someone, and they would talk to you like in voice acting and everything like that. Now the camera like zooms down into the room or the area that you're in. It's just the presentation's just nicer. So like it
It's
sucks you into the
definitely
story
done
a little
better.
more. It's not stuck in this like weird isometric, like locked, view that you're always in. I like all those like little finesses that just kind of make it feel like,
It's
hey, story's
definitely
more
more
important this
immersive.
time.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
definitely
Yeah,
more
it's
immersive.
definitely more immersive. Yeah, and you can tell just by the amount of cutscenes and moments that the game makes you stop that it's just like, oh, they're really going for it with the story. Like it's going to be in
Dude,
your face all the
story's
time.
so cool. So cool.
Blizzard's always been really good with like cutscenes. So like I remember even as
They
far back
have.
as like
Yeah.
what was it? Warcraft 3. I remember seeing like that
Yeah.
that CG trailer for Warcraft 3 at like back
Yeah.
however many years ago. I
Yeah,
was
they
like,
were the
holy
OGs
holy
before
in
the
the
Knights of the
game.
Old Republic stuff. Like everyone always talked about Blizzard cutscenes, and
Yeah.
and while Diablo 3 had those cutscenes, it was usually bookended like at the front of an act and at the end of an act.
Okay.
And while you're not getting like
Yeah.
constant CG cutscenes throughout the entire chapter, the amount
Yeah.
of new style engine cutscenes,
Mhm.
make it again just feel a little more immersive, and the presentation just a little more in your face. Again,
Yeah.
they want you to really care about what you're doing, which I feel like
Dan,
in
that makes me
Diablo.
think I want Warcraft 4 now that you're saying that, Dan.
I
I'm
know,
really
Yeah,
into
yeah,
Warcraft.
Warcraft 4 would
yeah.
be awesome.
I've wanted that for a while. Like,
Yeah,
could you
yeah,
imagine?
yeah.
Like,
That'd be amazing.
yeah.
All right, so it's fair to say all four of you're buying this day one. Yeah.
Dude,
I am.
absolutely.
I'm definitely buying.
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to figure out where I'm gonna buy it, but I'm gonna buy it.
I don't know about day one, but I did enjoy it. It's just for me, it's more of a co-op thing. Because so I streamed it for a couple hours, and I was like, oh, this is really fun. But it's early on, and I'm not getting anything like unique about the first couple of hours. Obviously, I'd have to keep playing more, and then you're unlocking all sorts of things. I'm sure you guys got to that I didn't get to. But I played 3. Like my wife and I played it front to back. Like my wife and I finished that the
That's
third
such
one
a
together.
good that game
So-
is such a good like
Yeah.
a couch co-op experience.
To me, it's more fun that way, like playing with someone.
Ah,
So
that makes sense.
Oh.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I get it, but I also I played the entire game almost solo.
Yeah.
So far, and it's like, it's so
Yeah, it's
good. I mean, I
definitely-
just can't really be
I
like
think it's one
multiplayer's
of
the
those
only
you
way to
can
do
play
it.
both and have fun. Like,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me, I'm
That's
talking
why
for-
I'm suggesting I'm going to try and convince as many people as possible to get it on PC so we can play it together. Because I really do want to
Oh,
try
is it not
multiplayer,
crossplay?
but I don't know.
Because I
Is
mean,
it-
I plan on getting on PS5. But...
Yeah, I'm getting on PS5. Yeah,
Okay.
Have they done crossplay on any of their other titles?
not Diablo 3. I know that for a fact. I don't know if this
that'd be
one's
the only
crossplay
one,
yet.
right? That's their only other major title that would have multiplayer
Yeah,
as a huge
yeah.
component.
This one might be
Overwatch.
crossplay. I'm not
Overwatch.
100%
Does
sure.
Overwatch do
Yeah.
crossplay?
I
Hold
think
on.
Overwatch does crossplay. I think it's PC.
Because you just have
with
to have the
PS5.
BattleNet, right? The BattleNet account,
Yeah,
and then
I think it is crossplay.
It is crossplay.
All right,
Even on the
so-
beta, it's crossplay.
Yes, Diablo 4 is crossplay amongst consoles, quite notably. Xbox.
And
Hold
cross
on.
progression.
No, but is it PlayStation also, or is it just Xbox and PC? Because that's happened plenty of times.
Yeah, because this is saying PlayStation and Xbox. I'm trying to see if it says PC.
Oh, okay.
Wait, including PC. Yeah, okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we're good, guys. We're good.
So cross
We're
play
good.
and cross save. So you could have it multiple places, and that's cool.
That's awesome.
So all of us could just go through
That's
and
pretty
just
neat.
F some demons up. I mean,
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't
I'm all
matter
about it.
where you buy it. You can just,
Nice.
as long as you have a.
And they
You
haven't
guys-
announced it for Switch yet, but it could come to Switch. But it's just for the other consoles and PC for now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
I
you
think
guys
they'll come
played
to
different
Switch.
classes though. Like Kyle, I think you touched all of them, right?
Yeah, I played all of them. Yeah, I played
Oh,
all
I
of
did
them. up to level
Barbarian.
6.
All of them.
Yeah.
I did Barbarian.
Well, that's your problem.
Can I
Dan.
just
Don't pick
say,
Barbarian.
Dan,
You whore.
that is the most boring class in the entire world. So like,
That's probably
yeah,
that was
like it is and
Maybe that's why I didn't hook him.
I always play tank, in like any
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of RPG setting because I just like swords and stuff like that. So I'm always looking to enjoy that, and I'm not trying to say it just to be like I'm sticking it to Dan. He's wrong.
No,
Like,
yeah.
no, that is literally. I played all 5. That is.
there wasn't
literally the
anything
most boring
unique
class.
going on there, right?
There was
like,
nothing unique about
Yeah.
like that.
I
But
really
also-
liked the druid
The
because
druid's
I
good.
like
I
the
liked it too.
the
Yeah.
fact that I could change into a werewolf, but I also use I'm not good with all this stuff, but one of my weapons has the ability to like when I hit you with a melee, it also like it's not electricity, but it's like some type of purple something that
Probably dark
element
magic or
that's
something.
Energy.
yeah,
Some
it's
kinda
probably like
energy.
some type of energy. So I'm like shocking these guys, even though I don't think it's electricity. So there was like I was getting different move sets.
Oh, it's
with
storm.
those
I think the druid uses
Okay.
storm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was upgrading both of those. I didn't even bother upgrading other stuff. I was just focused on those 2 attacks to
Yep.
get
Yeah.
like OP with them. I really liked it. I really liked him.
The
I don't know
druid.
if
The
you
druid
guys
is really cool.
I don't know if you guys remember in 3, and I guess this is like my only gripe, not that it's like enough of a gripe where I'm like, I'm not buying this game. Is like the rolls, like rolling and dodging has a cooldown. Was that in 3 or?
Yeah, but I think certain class, and I could be completely wrong, but if I remember 3
Okay.
properly, I think certain classes have the ability to be a little more agile as
Okay.
they go on,
Makes
but
sense.
I don't know if every class can do that.
I couldn't remember
Well,
if there was a cooldown with 3. So
Druid, my druid character is huge, so he's super slow. You have to
Mhm.
hit B, and when you hit B, you can like do a quick sprint /
Mhm.
dodge, but it
Okay.
does have a cooldown.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
cooldown, the
that's your
cooldown might
dodge.
differ between classes, I imagine.
sure.
So for me, for sorcerer, he's a little lighter on his feet, so it's 5 seconds. But I also unlocked the teleport shortly after that. Shortly,
Okay.
like after the first upgrade. So I was able to get 2 dodges really.
See, and my rogue has a cattle prop or whatever move, but he jumps back when he throws them. So like it is a dodge in itself, and it hits everything in front of him, and then lays on the ground. So as they're walking through, it's just constant damage as they're walking towards me.
Wow.
So I think each
Cool.
class has like an additional. They have dodges within moves.
They
Yeah.
do.
Just like Jeff's kind of teleportation for a sorcerer. So.
Right.
And the sorcerer
also-
is like the most powerful in all the Diablos, and like boy, he's still very powerful in this.
I
and
hear
really enjoyed.
Necromancer is like the
Necromancer
most
is completely
yeah.
OP. Like I couldn't
Yeah.
believe. So that's gonna get nerfed, I promise. But, unless it's just front heavy and then he just sucks for the rest of the game or something, I don't know. But like I was playing with the Necro and I was like, this is insane because you have 4 like skeletons that
Yeah, you get
are
an
just
army,
following you,
yeah.
and they just take
Destroy
over, man.
everything.
Like they just swarm. It's
That sounds like a balancing
it's-
thing.
It's cool, yeah, but I'm probably gonna end up playing all these characters in some way because I'm gonna have so many friends playing, and they're all gonna be in different,
Different
they're all gonna be a
And what are you
different,
playing
like,
on, Kyle? What's your system? you're playing?
PS5. It's just
PS5.
that's where I play most of my games. So
Nice.
Cool.
It's crazy. Over the course of 2 months, at the end of April through the end of June, right? So yeah, over those 2 months, we have so many major games from major IP and franchises with Star Wars, Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Diablo 4, and Final Fantasy 16 over the
Oof.
course of 8 weeks-ish, maybe 9 weeks.
it's too
if you look at
much.
the calendar.
It's too much.
That's crazy. Like if you'd have told me that at some point, like, hey, at some point those 4 major IP / franchises are all going to have a brand new AAA huge game, not a spin-off game, a real entry in those
Well,
franchises.
even I would even lump in.
Dang.
I know you're not a fighting fan, but Street Fighter 6.
Street Fighter 6 is going to be a
like
big
Street Fighter
occupancy for a
games
lot of people's
don't
time.
they don't
It's a
launch
huge
like every
franchise.
year. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
you're
launch
right,
like every
right.
5.
When it's going to have a
years.
huge single player mode too, so I mean it's going to draw in a lot of people. You know,
So like
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
going full in $100
crazy,
for that
man.
game.
I have
So
to
I'm-
know what that single player is before I buy it. Like, and they're being so
I agree.
coy about it. I gotta
I
know.
agree, but I'm very intrigued.
My only
Very
concern is like, because like when they went from 4 to like, because 4 did so well, like when 4 came out,
4
like
was
it did
awesome.
gangbusters, and then like they did the whole like they always do the super editions and everyone bitches, yada yada yada.
Every year they put out a
Super
new
Ultimate
16.
Yeah.
Champion.
But everyone buys it anyways, right?
Suck
So,
my
but 4
ass.
like
Yeah.
overall was like a
version.
smooth experience, right? I remember
It was
when
cool.
5 came out, like people like a lot of the fans, the consensus was like there was just issues. There was issues with the online. I think it was
It
like
didn't come with the campaign.
Yeah, that's what it was,
launched
too.
without
Yeah,
You know?
There
it was
that.
missing stuff. I do remember that.
yeah. So there was sort of a whole thing with that, and I
I
just
remember
hope
playing
that
it on the
6 they learn.
3DS. And
I
using
played
like
it
the little
too.
3D slider. That's how
Yeah,
I
I
played
played
it.
it on 3DS also.
I bought Street Fighter.
liked it on the 3DS.
It was great on
launch.
the 3DS. Yeah.
It was fun.
It was super cool to have them in 3D.
I liked it. Still a fun little system, that 3DS. I know that like people thought the 3D was just a gimmick. In a lot of ways it was, but some of those
Yeah.
games look amazing in 3D. Like
Yeah.
even like their little puzzle games that Nintendo made, like Pushmo and Crackmo, like
yeah.
those games were super cool.
Well,
I would turn it
saw-
off pretty quickly, because like I move
it depends
my
on
hands
the
around
game.
too much.
It
but
depends on the
like
game. Yeah.
every game, I would at least look and be like, "Oh, what does this look like? Oh, this
Yeah.
is so cool."
Yeah.
And then my Parkinson's ass, like I can't like I can't hold that thing. So
That's the
Like,
official
why is it not
diagnosis.
staying stable? You know?
It's not usually localized to one part of the body. That's weird.
Yeah, right.
All right. All right. So there's a couple other smaller games that came out. Mighty Doom on mobile, which I
Yeah.
played a little bit of already this week. I know Jeff, you played some of it. I mean, it is a mobile game, but it's a fun little game, but it is mobile for
exactly.
sure.
It kind of reminds me of like Marvel Snap's fun. It's probably a little better though. But there's because Marvel Snap has a little more mechanics to kind
It
of play
does.
around with.
Yeah.
Even as a card game, it just does. A little more variety there, and that's the only knock I really have against Mighty Doom is that it's too repetitive. You're not going to want to continuously go back to it or play it for more than 5 seconds. So in that sense, it is truly a mobile game.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you're going to want to play it for like a few minutes and then be like, all right, what else is going on in my life?
Yeah.
You know. But
As
it
soon
was
as I
fun,
saw the little
you know?
joystick on the screen, I was like, "Oh boy, I hate these." But like, that's really the only on-screen. It's there. There's that, and there's a little bonus like your power-up move or whatever. Your
Yeah,
special
like
weapon.
rocket launcher or whatever.
Yeah, and so that's pretty much it. Otherwise, your guy's constantly shooting, and then kind of like Vampire Survivors and games like that, you pick an upgrade, and then he'll just automatically start shooting that thing as you move around. So
Right. Yeah.
I do like that, but it wasn't enough to make me go like, man, I can't wait to play more of this. Like Vampire
Exactly,
Survivors hooked
yeah.
me in a very unique.
Like I got past the first boss because there's like 10 bosses right now in the game.
Yeah,
And I
same
got
thing.
past
I
the
got
first
that
one,
first
and then I was like, all right, I think I get it. Like I don't know
Same
what
here.
it is. Like it's
That's
not
exactly where I played.
I don't
too.
have a negative experience. I didn't have anything negative to say about it really, other than the repetition of it throughout the entire game. It's just not. I don't know. It's just hard to explain.
Listen, there's plenty to upgrade
get it,
too.
you know?
You get
Yeah.
there's lots of upgrades. There's lots of things to unlock for next, your next run and stuff like that. But it also is very much a mobile game in that like there's a lot of lotteries and slot machine type
Yep, that's a big
mechanics
no
that
for
kick
me.
in, and even with upgrading, like it kind of randomly picked something for me to upgrade. I was like, oh, all right. So it's not really where you select. I want to be this kind of a Doom Slayer. Like it's kind of random.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's just you moving around a very small little corridor. You clear that room, and then you break the door and go to the next room, and then you clear that one, and you go to the next one, and it's randomly generated. It's that.
Oh,
It is
okay.
every
That's
time,
kinda cool.
yeah.
And sometimes you'll get like a perk, like you'll meet some character who gives you a bonus, or you'll just have a room full of enemies.
And
or
they did include the melee thing from the new Doom games,
the
where
gore kills or whatever.
they glow, and you have to just run up to them, and he'll auto melee them and give you some extra health or some other perks or whatever.
Super bloody, like it's a cute little art style, but then all of a sudden everything's.
Oh,
getting
so it is
more.
still bloody and stuff. Okay.
Yeah. It's still Doom at the end of the day.
It looks kind of funny. I was like,
That's
oh, this
fun.
might be a kid's. Nope.
It's a hard no.
But yeah, no, it's fine. It's a decent little mobile, and it's free, so give it a whirl. It took me a while to find it.
Exactly.
I actually had to Google search for the App Store listing and then clicked on that result, which took me
so
back to
weird.
the App Store. The App Store
Yeah.
wasn't showing it when I tried refreshing it and updating stuff. And so anyway, it wasn't showing up yet. Thanks, Apple. The other game.
Thanks, Tim Apple.
Depending on
Timothy Apple.
That's a great name, Timothy Apple. Depending on who you talk to, this could have been the most anticipated game of the year. So, like, if you believe what Sony has to say in their state of play, then Tchia with a T was the most anticipated game of 2023. As far as their state of play goes, that might be true. That was their most anticipated game of that thing.
Right.
But Tchia's out, and I am gonna just come clean. I actually didn't play this directly, even for 1 minute. My daughter has played it for about 2 hours. And I sat with her while she played it, and she was exploring and collecting things, and like zero combat that I could see. You get a slingshot, and I was like, oh, maybe there's a little bit of combat. Like, I haven't seen any. It seems to be just exploring and collecting.
Sure.
And I don't even see much crafting. I was like, have you built anything yet? I didn't see you build anything.
What are you doing?
Yeah, it seems
well,
like
no
it's
wonder they made it free then.
I think it's a very peaceful little
Plus,
experience. Now, there might be elements of fighting something later, or elements of, oh, now you've got all these items, you can craft something, maybe. So I'm kind of speaking out of turn here a little bit. I don't know all the details of this game. I just know, even watching her play it, I'm like, this isn't a game for. This is not a Timothy Apple.
Yeah, Timothy Apple. I do wonder if, like, because I do tend to gravitate towards some indie games that might have a little bit either an abstract or a passive experience.
Yeah.
But I do want, like, the more gameplay I saw of it, I was like, I feel like I'll hate this. Like, I don't know what it is. Like,
I also didn't really get grabbed by the art style. Like, it's actually pretty. Like, we played on PS5, and it actually, like, it looked good. Like, the water looked good. Like, the lighting, it was kind of pretty. But I just didn't like the art style myself.
Yeah.
I just, like,
me neither.
I wanted to, I wanted it to look more like Moana or something, but it doesn't. It looks kind of like a really cheap.
It looks like a Switch game.
I saw reviews saying it, it was like Breath of the Wild, and I'm like, well, if it's like Breath of the Wild, then I should like it.
Only in that you can glide. That's the only.
Yeah, and then I watched stuff, and I'm like, this looks terrible.
The gliding is the only.
That's always the thing, right? Every game is a Souls game now, right? You know, every game is like.
It's like
the only thing
just because they have a soul listed in there somewhere, that doesn't make it a Souls game.
The only
every
thing
game's a fall game.
That would make it a potential game of the year contender is the fact that you can turn into a cow and then press X to shit. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's probably.
Can you poop as every animal?
I don't know. That's a good question.
No, but you can, according to my daughter, you can pet almost every animal.
Ooh.
So, like, that's another.
Yes,
game of the year.
I do like the petting, but they introduced pooping, and I need all the animals to poop.
Resident Evil 4, you can shoot a bull, and they go, or a cow.
They'll attack you.
Yeah, they'll go.
I got stampeded by 2 of them in an area. Yes. I was in a firefight, and like 2 of them just came running at me. And
Resident Evil 4 is better, and you can actually in that opening
do you
scene.
Think so?
Yes, because of that. Yeah.
You can shoot them, then you can also light them on fire. So when they're running around, they're lighting everybody on fire.
Oh, I didn't do that. That's great.
Yeah,
I actually got stuck on one, and then it beat the shit out of Ashley, and she died. It was
you know what? She was probably doing something that she probably didn't.
Classic.
She was probably
Eagle.
utterly ridiculous. So that's probably why.
I like not to call back, but like the very first time he says that he uses her code word, which is baby eagle, but he goes, no sight on the president's daughter, baby eagle yet. I'm like, you wouldn't if you're using code, you wouldn't on comm say that you're at like this
code works.
And that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, that game is so corny, dude.
That's like going on the radio, like the bird is in the nest, and by that I mean the president has returned.
Yeah, and by that I mean the president who is on his airplane right now.
Don't say the thing.
I mean Ashley Graham, age, yada yada, blood type, yada.
Why even use code names?
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. So the main movie I want to hear about is John Wick Chapter 4.
Oh my god, dude.
This movie's getting just crapped on. No good reviews out there at all. I haven't seen any positivity.
Actually, I'm here to continue that because it's true. All of it.
Yeah, all of it's true. Yeah. What do you guys think? I didn't watch it yet. Obviously, I'll see this later on down the road, but I'm curious to hear what you guys thought.
I'm not going to spoil anything, and I'm saying that up front because there is stuff I wanted to say, like when I watched the movie that I was like, I could say it's like this, but then it would give it away, and I think it's stupid. I think, let me just say this. The first 2 acts are good. They're good. They're good. They're John Wick. They're good. Act 3 takes it to a whole new level where I was literally sitting in the theater and I'm smiling going,
Yeah,
oh,
dude.
this is the ultimate video game movie. Like
there
this
was a lot
love
of
that.
leaning forward and like grinning for me as well.
This
yeah,
is beyond badass. Like if somebody was a gamer and wanted to make a movie, this Act 3 is how you do it. Like they absolutely nailed it. So my opinion, I won't say it's I don't know. I can't right now say it's my favorite John Wick movie because
It's the
I
best one. You're
absolutely
wrong.
I
That's the best one.
absolutely adore all of them.
They're all
So
really good. Yeah.
they're all really good. I would have to rewatch all of them and then decide. I did rewatch 1. I
I
still
love
think
the
it's
first
good.
one so much. Yeah.
I
It's very
think
good.
4 is better than the first one, and I think 4 is going to end up being better than 2 and 3. But I was really, really impressed. Like it's a really, really good movie. Good characters,
Oh my
great.
gosh.
They introduced a lot of new characters and like they're utilized really like they've opened up and I'm
Completely.
not spoiling
Fully.
anything, but they've opened up a whole world of assassins, excuse me. And it's like there's so many people on the table now that you could choose any one character you see in this movie and spin them off into their own movie.
Yeah.
And I'd see it day one, you know.
Here's
like,
what I would really want to applaud them for bringing up what Kyle just said. Let's remember that the first movie's plot was based off a dead dog. And
Yeah.
like the entire revenge story was
Murder
like,
dog.
I'm just gonna go kill a gazillion guys because they killed my dog. And
Very
I
simple
understand
premise,
I
yeah.
understand why, but the point was it's a simple premise.
Wasn't
So
just
now-
any dog though. Come on now.
Yeah, we know that. But my
The
point
Baba
is
Yaga's
like
dog.
here you are, you're in the 4th movie of a franchise that probably shouldn't exist beyond one movie, is what I'm
Right.
trying to say.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have not only given the script and the plot and the characters more depth, but you've done it in a way that feels good. Like the whole
Yeah.
time I was watching the 4th movie, I was like, I can't believe they're actually making this good. Like to me,
The world building is really
the
consistent
world
and
building
done
is
well, yeah.
really good, and I don't feel like I'm watching this movie and I'm going, nothing about this is realistic, but it feels realistic. So here's what I mean by that. Like they're doing stuff that's unrealistic, but it's still grounded in reality to a certain
Mhm.
extent that you
Yeah.
don't get, at least for me. I don't get mad and go, that's stupid. You can't do that in real life. Of course you can't do any of this in real life. Nobody
Yeah.
can kill
But-
a gazillion
But
guys.
you're
but-
saying like there's nobody like on strings floating across, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? No
but-
point does anyone like express like
Yeah.
superhuman, you know, abilities, you know?
no one guy could do this, but in reality, you could do a lot of the things he's doing. I'm just saying he would eventually
And he
die.
does. Jeff told me he did 90% of his own stunts in this movie.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's
And
So
let me
it
tell you
was
guys,
grounded
there are
in
some
reality.
wild stunts in this movie.
Was he
It's really
breathtaking?
well done.
Was he breathtaking?
It was
He was
so
breathtaking.
breathtaking.
Absolutely.
Love
If,
it.
if after this movie, if they don't create a stunt category because of this movie, I'm gonna be very upset, and it's not gonna happen. So I'm.
Oh, you mean like
Yeah.
for
Rematch.
awards?
So
Like
I'm
for
upset.
awards?
Dude, I have been saying, well, ever since I saw Chapter 4, I've been saying that this is the year to do it because we still have a Mission Impossible coming out this year.
Yeah,
And
that's
there
true.
is no question the
God.
stunts are going to be on par, or maybe a little less on par with Chapter 4 of John Wick.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, I mean, dude is jumping off a freaking mountain for real with
Yeah,
a
yeah,
motorcycle.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
All right.
Of course
it's a pretty
it's
big
gonna-
stunt. Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be
pretty good
massive.
stunt.
It's a pretty good
Pretty good
stunt.
stunt.
So this is the year to make an argument for it, I feel like. But again, like Kyle said, it's just not going to happen. And if it doesn't happen this year, it will never happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time to
it's
start
really
honoring these people because like there are
Yeah.
times where I watch this and like someone falls from a long distance and I'm like, that looked like that guy doesn't walk anymore, and it's like a real stunt.
Right.
Like it's a real stunt. Like it's
They're
not like a
putting their
CG
health,
dude falling
Their
down.
lives on
you
the
know?
line, legit. Like people get super injured
Yeah,
and
yeah,
have
and-
stunts. Like, I
And
mean,
it's in a way where I know it's like a controlled space where I'm like, that guy's probably dead, and they're just covering it up, you know? Like
Yeah.
because it looks so it's so chaotic how crazy some of these stunts are that they just put people's bodies on the lines for, but like it is some next level stuff, and I'm with Derek. I don't even want to explain themes or visuals.
No,
of
because
certain
I
fight
don't want to
scenes.
ruin anything for you guys.
Yeah,
the only
I
thing
feel-
I will do that could potentially ruin it for you is I'll overhype it. But please understand that I was already
Oh, that's already been
overhyped.
done. That's already
Yeah,
been
I was
it's
already
not by us,
overhyped.
but the media is already doing
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
it was for me. I went into it when the movie started. I was like watching I'm gonna call it normal action because for John Wick it's normal action, so it was just normal. I'm
Yes.
like,
Yes.
and I was sitting there going, I'm like, they're
Is
not
this it?
doing any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, they're not doing anything to
This
blow
is
me
it.
away.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then when they got to, and I'm not saying the first two acts didn't have cool parts. There's still parts where I
Oh
was
my
like, okay,
God.
that was
Yes.
cool, that
There's
was cool,
definitely
that's
Yeah.
cool, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you get to Act 3, I'm like, oh no, dude, I'm not gonna cuss. How did you level up like that? How did you do that?
The conceptualization of how elaborate some of these scenes are, and the way that they were shot, and how they were mostly practical, it
Camera,
completely
totally.
blows my mind. It completely
Yeah.
blows my mind in every I've never seen anything like this in my
Has it
entire
been the
life.
same director for these 4 movies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Handsome Chad, yeah.
That's awesome.
Handsome Chad.
Handsome Chad.
He was Handsome
all
Chad
right.
in Matrix Resurrections. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
God damn it.
Anyway, it's
Trinity's
worth
husband, yeah.
seeing.
So worth
It's
seeing,
worth
but,
seeing. I'm gonna go see it again in the theaters. I'm gonna go
yeah.
by myself.
I'm
I
gonna
don't
go to
need my
IMAX.
2 sons there. One fell asleep. The other one's freaking
my
on his
God.
phone.
How dare he? How
Wow.
dare he?
I'll
mad.
give Ian a pass.
Tell
Ian
them to
actually
find new last
loves.
names
mad.
immediately.
I'm
Tell
mad
them
He
to
about
find
that.
new
absolutely loves John Wick movies, and I'm like, after the movie, I'm like, did you fall asleep? He's like, I did. I'm like, you must have been really tired because he played a soccer game,
Okay. Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
Sure.
right after
He
the
was
soccer
gassed
game,
out.
we went to the movie. So I understand why he fell asleep.
That makes sense.
But-
yeah.
But he did
By
see
time
the
I
third
see it,
act,
I
and he was
will-
like,
my hype for it's really high based on what you guys are saying and everything I've read. By the time it comes out on streaming where I can rent it or whatever,
stop the
It's-
cap. You're not waiting for it to stream. Go now.
you gonna
Go
come
now.
watch my kids for me? so I
Tim,
can go do this?
Tim,
You come
I'm
watch
waiting
my kid.
too. So I'm waiting as well because
Go now.
I don't want to, but
What I was gonna
fuck
say
the-
was
fuck
this
theaters,
happens
so.
a lot where like some movie gets hyped up big time. It's in theaters and then I don't see it for a couple of months and I finally watch it and I get to kind of have a much smaller scale but similar experience where I'm like, dude, this just blew me away. Like I finally watched this thing.
Mhm.
So I'll bring it up and let you guys gush about it all over.
Did that
again when I
happen
watch
for
it.
you with Top Gun Maverick?
Yes. Oh, big time. Big
Good.
time.
I
can
I
have-
love that movie.
Yeah, I watched it over
will,
Christmas.
I feel like this movie will strike you the same way. Like when you do see it on streaming, you'll be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, everybody was right.
And I know
cool.
that Top Gun Maverick was better served in a theater. I know that. I've heard that a million
I
times.
didn't watch
know
it in a
it
theater, and I liked it all the
But
same.
we
so,
watched
yeah.
it on our big home TV. I had just gotten a new sound bar with like a subwoofer underneath, so it was booming. Like
Sweet.
it was fun, and it still worked. It was
Yeah.
great, excellent. Better than I thought it would be. Even after all the hype that it had, it was
I
still
think
like
you can
I didn't even
absolutely
believe the hype in that movie
I
until
didn't
I saw
either.
it.
I
was
think
like,
I didn't
oh,
either,
okay.
Kyle. I
Yeah.
think I was still expecting it to be a letdown, and
I was
it
like, this
wasn't.
is.
So
I
was
was like,
I.
everybody drank
So
the
was
Kool-Aid
I.
so quick on that movie, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, because the Kool-Aid was good. Okay, I get it. That's why everyone's-
I only went to see that in theaters because I literally got a free ticket from
Oh.
Facebook. Somebody was like, "I got a free ticket, a
Oh,
free
okay.
code,"
Okay.
and I put it in, and that's the only reason why I went and saw it in theaters. And I was like, "Dude, this was fun. I enjoyed
I went
everything
and saw
about
it
this
on
movie."
like on a Top Gun fan night or something. So it was an early screening 2 weeks in advance, and it was only diehard Top Gun fans that were there. They were freaking out during most of the movie, and I was the one
That's so
guy
cool.
there like that was not a huge Top Gun fan. So I felt weird, but at the same time, they were right for cheering. I mean, the action scenes were effing
Yeah.
incredible on that giant of a screen. It was like one of the bigger screens.
I know we've talked
sure.
about I know Kyle and Jeff have experienced had bad experiences in theaters with people doing stupid stuff, like they'll talk and stuff like that. But there is a lot of positives to a theater experience. Like
Yeah.
when I was watching John Wick today, I mean, I didn't see her race. I'm just gonna guess she was black because she
wow.
sounded black.
There we go. God.
But she was
censored himself from
super-
cursing earlier.
You were doing
Wouldn't do
so
it for this,
great.
though.
You were doing so great.
But she was super loud, but she was hilarious. So anytime she thought something was funny, and it was funny, but not laugh out loud, she'd be like, "Oh my god, I cannot believe he did that!"
Yeah.
And she would start laughing. But it wasn't annoying. It added humor to the movie and
It
the
did.
experience.
Okay.
So I
I've had
enjoy
some-
that
I've
type
heard
of
some of
stuff.
that in mine.
Yeah, I only had like 13 people in my theater because I go to a desolated theater that no one goes to, and those 13 people were rowdy and in a good way, and like the way that like Derek's talking about, where everyone was like really involved in the movie, but in this gigantic theater where we were all spread out in, it felt like a full room, even though there was 13 people in a 250.
I still remember the third one more because it was like a sold out showing, and I sat in the front, which was the only seat that I could find on the night, and like I sat in the front with total strangers. And like the knife fight happened at the antique weapon store or whatever. And the guy next to me, who also came alone, was like, "Can you believe that shit?" And it was just one of the like. That's exactly the reason you go to see these movies in a movie theater. Is like that. Yeah. And I had that feeling happen at least 6 or 7 times in John Wick 4. Like
I was the guy in my theater where I was, and I won't even say at which parts, but I literally at certain parts I go, "Get out of here." And I was just so like, what I'm saying, get out of here.
The lady next to Kyle got up and was like, "Fine."
It's just, I couldn't believe how they pulled it off, and I was audibly like, there was one point I realized I wasn't breathing because I was just like, and then at the end of the scene I go,
Kyle just passed out on the ground.
He mentioned the final hour, and like there's a moment in the final hour where they go from the street to the house. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen it, obviously.
And they go to bed. And that's the end.
And then when they go to that house, I don't even care how many people are around me. I'm literally going, "Oh my God."
Yeah. Yeah.
You would think I'm jerking it to the movie. Like,
yeah. There's a lot of really audible like orgasmic noises coming out of me.
That was the other thing I was gonna say, where like the theater experience is really cool. Like there's like at least 2 scenes that I can think of where all the music stops playing, all the like background noise stops, and it's usually when somebody's falling, and then you hear the thump, boom, thump, that, and everybody in the theater went, "Oh!" Like you can feel it. You can feel it.
So visceral.
It's a visceral. Yeah,
there's a couple of falls where you're like, "Oh, dude, I can feel that."
I think the last time that I had a theater experience with that much interaction with my fellow attendees was probably Marvel's Endgame. Was the last time we had that much interaction together with what was happening.
That was probably the biggest one I've had.
The rowdiest movie I've ever been at was Hobbit, the second Hobbit movie. Like anytime any like Bilbo came on screen for the first time, the whole theater like stood up and cheered. I'm like,
this is
what's going on here? It was the weirdest thing. It was
Lord of the Rings, baby.
I must have been in there with a bunch of like Tolkien fans or something.
Kyle, do you remember you and I saw the Raid 2? I think a midnight showing of it, like the night it came out. And it wasn't a full showing by any means, but all of us were doing the same thing during we did during John Wick 4, where like everybody in the theater was just like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa,
go!" Yeah.
Oh, and that's the other thing. This isn't a spoiler because he's in the trailers, and you know he's blind. But the blind guy is probably the coolest guy to ever exist.
Yeah, that's
Donnie Yen is the greatest.
He's worth seeing the movie.
That's not the first time he's been a blind guy.
No, he's really leaned into something.
He's being typecast as a blind guy.
I was actually disappointed they didn't repeat the joke of putting a hood over him and he's going, "I'm blind."
Are you kidding me? I'm blind. Yeah. He ad-libbed that line too.
That was so good.
That's man, yeah, he's super great in that. And then
he's funny as hell in it too.
And then Sonata, you probably know him from like Rush Hour and like Last Samurai and stuff like that. You see him in the trailer as well. Like he's in this too. And like I'm telling you, they really give a lot of TLC to like all the new characters in this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
In a way that the previous movies haven't. You know?
Yeah, I heard that the first cut was like almost 4 hours long. The first cut was
4 hours and
45
minutes.
Long, and they were like, "Crap, we have to cut this down." So there's going to be some kind of director's cut, some kind of extended cut that comes out of
that. I would watch it if they released it as like a mini series. I would totally watch that. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I will say, like, I think they better utilize the new characters in this than they have in any of the previous John Wick movies. I mean, in the first one, obviously, you have all new characters because we've never seen those characters before. But like in 2 and 3, I just feel like they just didn't have. The studio didn't really let them flesh it out, but I just felt like the fourth one they were able to give these characters an actual arc and meaning, if something
well,
tragic
it's not just
happened to
John
them,
Leguizamo coming up and going like, "I feel you, buddy," and like cracking wise and leaving. Like everybody
and
has
he's one of my favorite side parts in the first.
Yeah, I
movie.
gotta tell you,
Never
I didn't
see him
really
again.
care about Ruby Rose or Common in the other John Wick movies. I was like, man,
Sure.
I don't
I
really
like
care
him as
about them.
henchmen. I like
They were
henchmen.
fine. I just
Yeah.
didn't care about them. Like
No,
Yeah,
this
there's no-
movie.
there's no
it could have
There's
been
no arc to these
anyone.
characters.
They just threw
Yeah,
out
anyone
these
in them.
movies.
Yeah.
These movies are in this movie and John Wick 4. You can tell which ones are the main side characters. They are all fleshed out where you're like, I care about you. I care about your story.
Even like kind of the bad. Well, most of the bad guys, maybe not all
Yeah,
of them. You're like,
you
I get
mat-
this.
Well, yeah,
You
there's
matter.
there's one muscly henchman that's like, oh, he has no story. It doesn't matter. His story is being the roadblock for every story beat, basically.
Yeah.
And then there's actually a character that's like as side character as it gets, and it's involving a poker table and stuff. And like even him, they use like to their full potential. Like they didn't have to. That scene is so non-consequential to. I mean, it's important to the plot, but they didn't.
It's
have
also
to
one of
stretch
the
it out
best
that much at all.
looking,
But it's
action
so
sequences in the whole
fun.
movie.
Oh yes.
Like in terms of how it's shot, maybe not like the choreography itself, but like just everything that's going on in that scene. It's very busy. A lot of extras.
That's
awesome. Also, I would not even blink if this got nominated for a bunch of cinematography like awards, because some of the shots were just so beautiful. Like
the lighting or just the use of neon lights or water or anything like that. Like everything was used in such a purposeful manner, and it like really creates these like really beautiful like vistas to like punch people.
And I would say nominate them for set design too, because even though they picked actual locations you can actually walk up to and film at, there's still the set design part of like certain hotels and certain houses and stuff. Like they put a lot of thought into this, and it just looks so good and so thought out. They thought out every single detail of this movie to such a high level. Like it really did blow me away. I can't wait to talk about it on the current cinema.
Yeah, I was at peak. I mean, there's 10 times in my life I've maybe allowed myself to get that excited about a movie. And like this, it exceeded all my expectations and everything like that.
I was definitely hyped. Yeah. I'm a big Keanu Reeves fan, which, by the way, I was just thinking about it. I was like, I literally think, and I'm not even making a joke, I think he said 50 words in the entire movie. I think Keanu Reeves
like 20 times.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves did not talk a lot at all. He was like silent. He's like a silent protagonist.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, people want to see him kick ass, right? Like, people want to mostly see him.
He's not the monologue. He's not the monologue type.
That's the screenwriters understanding their actors' limitations. That's about it.
Yeah,
it's just smart writing at that point.
I will say about the first
but I think his character's more interesting that he is that way, where he's just like,
I agree.
I think I need a gun. Yeah.
I still like is it the first one or is it I think it's the first one. It's like, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
That's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Right? Is that the third one?
That's the first one. No, it's the first one. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. He's all
you took that from me. Killed that from me. Okay,
what I loved about the first one, and I know that a lot of times it's summed up as, it's all a revenge tale about a dog. I'm like, obviously it's not. The dog represents his wife who died from cancer. He couldn't take out his anger on anyone until they killed his dog. Now he gets to essentially avenge his wife, even though it wasn't really his wife.
He gets to put all that like grief somewhere, and
it's
in the form of bullets in a lot of people's heads.
It's not really about the dog, although I understand like that part's sad, but it's not really about that. It's about the wife. Yeah. But man, what a cool recap of, and you guys kept spoiler free.
Oh my gosh, I forgot to mention Lance Reddick. They used him. Yeah. They filmed all these scenes and finished it in 2021. Like there was nothing in the writing that they changed at all. But it was just he had such a great part in this movie. Like it was they used him really well.
Did that happen during this week, or was that before you guys recorded last week? Him passing away, was that?
He died like 3 days before the movie came out, or something like that.
No. I'm saying the last time you guys
last week.
Oh, you did.
We talked about it last week.
Man, what a freaking hit! Like that's
I do like that they added to the film in the beginning in memory of Lance Reddick. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he literally died like
it was
less
days.
than a week.
Yeah, the fact that they were able to put it in the print in time for the release is very impressive.
That's awesome.
Everything's digital these days.
Everything's digital. That's right. All right. Well, we're gonna, if you guys are okay with it, I'm gonna do anything else we've been watching or playing at the end, so we can move into a couple other segments, and we'll still talk about these things, but we'll just circle back to anything that we missed.
I will hype up current cinema for a quick second. please go listen to the next episode because it's going to be all about John Wick. John Wick Chapter 4, spoiler cast.
If you need to put your excitement somewhere, put it
favorite
on this
scenes
hour.
from the whole franchise, all that stuff. Yeah. And
Nice.
I'd like to get Derek on since he's seen it. And
You've seen it.
he likes the franchise.
When are you recording? Because I want to go see it again before you record.
Oh, okay. We normally do Wednesday nights, but we can.
Okay.
No,
I could
move
probably.
that around. I don't know.
I could probably see the movie again Monday night because I'm going to.
You'll be the subject matter expert. You've seen it.
Yeah,
twice.
you would be by that point. Yeah, because I'm not seeing it again until my dad and brother are available.
Looks like a young Hugh Hefner down here with his robe on.
Yeah.
I don't actually need to go to the theater. They're sending me the film after the show.
Wow. You can play that in your photo.
The privilege of the hef.
All right, we're gonna play a little game called Name That Sound. So I'm going to play.
I love this game.
An audio clip.
Ooh, that sound.
I need a theme
Why
song.
don't you
for
play
all of
that
these.
sound?
I need a little theme song for all these little
I don't think
games.
that's how that goes.
What is that sound?
But most of these are sound effects. There's a couple that are a little more like jingle-like. But I want you guys are gonna work together as a team to try to figure out the specific event and or game platform, whatever it is that causes this sound to happen. I got about 15 of these. So I'm gonna just share a still image. And it's all right if you guys can't see it. We'll make sure that people.
Yeah, as long as we can hear the audio, I'm cool. And through the magic of editing, I'm sure the audience will see something different. So.
Hold on.
Well, Tim usually edits.
Also,
is this Jeopardy rules? So we say what is, and then
I do spend 40 hours. You're right, Derek. That's about the amount of time that I spend. Yep. All right.
Please modify my voice, please.
So here we go. You guys got to work together to.
I just want to talk like this on the podcast.
Work together to try to figure out.
Make me sound like Lance Reddick. Thank you.
Figure out what game or event or whatever it is causes this sound. So hopefully you guys can hear this.
We are going to play today.
Oh, let me put my headphone in.
That's my Lance Reddick. There we go.
That's pretty close, actually.
All right, here you go. Number 1 for Name That Sound. Here we go.
All right.
Metal Gear Solid.
Okay.
Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, definitely.
But you guys aren't even saying it right. Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
And what's the event? What causes that sound?
When you get seen by a guard or anything.
Alerted.
Yeah.
I know that, and I haven't played any of the games.
Because they use it like everywhere.
They
All
do.
right.
Yeah.
There you go. You got the first
All right,
one.
I'm checking out.
I already know he's gonna use.
Check it out.
Hey,
All right, here we go.
Hey, listen.
Here we go.
Hey.
Oh.
Mario Kart.
No,
No.
not Mario Kart.
Sonic?
We'll give you, since there's 4 of you, we'll give you 4 guesses.
Oh,
does that sound-
I don't choose Sonic then. I don't. Never mind.
Why does it sound like Command and Conquer or some shit, like Desert Storm or?
I don't know, man.
It sounds very
Is it
familiar,
Sonic?
but-
It is from Sonic. Do you know what what causes it?
Oh, it's like when
you hit the
stops,
checkpoint.
right?
What'd you say, Dan?
when he like kind of stops.
Yes, when he comes to a stop.
halt.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
okay.
Good alley-oop.
Oh, so that's
That's
his old
that
sound.
was really
Right.
good, Dan. I usually hard on you, but that was good.
You're not fired anymore.
You're unfired for a week.
Oh, gee, that's so generous.
All right, you guys are 2 for 2.
What a
Here we
generous
go with
corporate.
number 3 here.
Halo.
Shield.
Yeah.
Halo
Shield.
Shield Regen. Shield
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yep.
Okay.
Barely even know Halo.
Some of the greatest sound design in any video game ever.
Oh my gosh,
That's right.
definitely.
You guys are crushing it. All right, here's number 4.
Hey.
Woohoo! It sounds like Mario.
Yeah,
Right?
It is sort of.
I heard the hey, somebody doing hey, and I really thought that was the sound for it.
Oh,
Do it again. It's
Yeah,
Super
isn't Mario going down the
World.
flagpole? It sounds like Mario.
Super Mario World.
it is from a Mario game, but you are not correct on which
Is
game.
it Yoshi?
No, I'll give you one more.
Okay.
Oh,
You have the
Mario
right.
Kart.
You have the right concept. of,
Mario
like,
Kart finish.
Mario
Um,
Kart finish. Yes.
Mario
Oh,
Kart
okay,
finish.
okay.
Okay. All right. Good
Okay.
job. Good job, Jeff.
Mario Kart finish. All right.
Yeah, I see.
Here we
It
go.
sounds like when you go through the goalposts in World. That's what I was thinking.
Oh.
It does have like
That's what I thought,
finish
yeah.
the level sound to it, which I
It
think
does.
Mario Kart purposefully kind of has a similar.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a little
All right, number 5. Here we go.
Among Us.
Among Us.
Meeting.
What's the meeting? Yeah, when
Wow.
you call the emergency meeting. That's right.
Good job, Jeff.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
man.
Oh, we should
I
play-
watched in 2020. That was like my life was watching
was
those
it, man.
streams basically.
That was the game. All right. Number 6. Here we go.
GTA Dead. I don't know which game.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, nice. Wasted or busted in Grand Theft Auto.
Oh,
Yeah.
Busted.
I don't know which game though. Is it all of them that do that?
That was specifically from GTA 5, but it's all got a
okay.
similar kind of sound.
Yeah, they kind of do.
All right. Oops, I lost my little folder here. Okay, number 7. You guys are crushing it so far. Here we go. Pokemon. What causes that sound?
Sounds like winning a battle.
Something evolves.
Nope. Neither one of those. Not evolving or.
Trade?
Nope. Successfully caught a monster.
I was about to say, you found something. You found a monster.
So that's like after
no
the
idea.
little
They're not
Pokeball.
monsters. They're pocket monsters. All right. Like
Okay, that's
All
the
right.
I'll show
monster.
you a pocket monster. I'll show you a big one.
Yeah.
pocket monster.
He's talking about his penis.
That one's like
man.
Sure.
That one's like
sure.
a half
Yeah,
point,
no,
right?
thank
You got Pokemon right away. So that's like a half point. All right. See if you recognize this one. This is number 8 here.
Okay,
Assassin's
it's a
Creed.
bird.
What'd you say, Dan?
Yeah, that's bird
that's
from
Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed. What causes that sound?
The
It used the eagle eye.
you use the when you're perched up on something to do
And then Leap of Faith.
when you
Faith.
leap,
Yeah,
into
I think
like
someone said-
hey.
There you go. Yep, Assassin's Creed Leap of Faith. All right. Here we go. Here's the next one.
Okay, that's Zelda. Do it again. So, like when you get a coin, when you bust like something open,
Ruby?
you get a coin.
A rupee?
Yeah, ruby.
That sounds like Sonic to me.
My
It
guess
is
is
Sonic.
Zelda.
It is from Sonic.
Okay.
Okay. It's when you get
so
a
you're go
coin
coin.
or a
Go
ring?
coin.
Collecting a ring. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, there we
Yep.
go. Apparently I know my Sonic sound.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Dan's on it with the Sonic. All right. Number 10.
Zelda,
That's
when you open the
Zelda.
chest.
Any old chest, Kyle?
No, specifically a big one with new equipment.
Danny even did like the motion with the hands. Yeah. That's when you open one of the large chests in.
Hell yeah.
in Zelda. All right, number
Ocarina
11.
of Time specifically.
Ocarina of Time
Yeah,
specifically.
that
that's
one
right.
specifically is from Ocarina. Yeah. When you load up a PlayStation.
PlayStation.
PlayStation
One.
1.
Yep. One.
Yep. That
Ah,
sound, man. That sound
I'll
takes me
never
right back.
forget. I'll
Every
never
single
forget
one of
that.
them have always been amazing.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
except 5 actually, because I don't actually know what the
I don't-
sound is to be
does-
honest.
Yeah, because it's in
PS5
rest
even
mode,
really?
right? Yeah.
But yeah, every single one of them, especially 3. Like 3 has like that orchestra, like it's so extra. Oh god, yeah.
All right, see if you guys recognize this one. A little bit of a throwback here.
When you blow up in Contra, when you die in Contra,
You have the first part of that, right? It's when you die.
when you die, okay. Oh, Mega Man.
Mega Man. Nice.
Oh yeah, it is.
God, yes. Oh my gosh, nostalgia
Yeah.
is like unlocking so many
Yeah.
memories in my brain right now.
Wrong robot.
It blows up
wow.
into circles in every direction.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, we got 3 left. Here we go.
Going dark. It's Siphon
Uh-huh.
Filter
Uh,
when he puts on his night vision
Splinter Cell,
goggles.
Splinter Cell, right? Splinter Cell.
It's Splinter Cell Night Vision Goggles. So you guys together kind of tag team that one. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, I said Siphon Filter. I meant Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
I
don't
figured that
have-
you did. Yeah.
Yeah. I have PlayStation on the brain.
All right.
Was that it?
Hold on.
That's
Final
Final
Fantasy
Fantasy.
7. That's a
Final
menu.
Fantasy
That's a menu
7.
cursor. That's the cursor sound.
Moving
Yeah.
the menu cursor. Yeah.
I got
Yeah, I
it.
got it.
Good job,
I'm a
good job,
bigger
Dan.
Final Fantasy fan.
Yeah,
than Dan.
yeah.
I feel like those
it's-
menus, especially in 7, as you're moving materia around, I feel like I just
yeah.
heard that sound
Yeah, it's
tens of
it's-
thousands of times. Like, yeah, so many
I
times.
mean, I have beat that game like 80 gazillion times because I'm a bigger Final Fantasy fan.
oh boy.
You know, gazillion's not actually a number, right? So
It's a real number.
in charge of our finances, therefore you're
All right, guys. Last one. Here we go.
Definitely.
That's my ringtone.
Something
Mario Kart
right?
when you get
Mario
like a
Kart.
question mark, maybe? I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's an
Yeah.
item box
Yeah.
lottery spin in Mario.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. Well done. You guys crushed it.
we know
I mean,
sounds.
That's proof we are legit gamers.
Is it
We're the most pro gamers.
You know,
on the
sounds
market.
are the easiest thing for any person on Earth to remember. So really, we just need the quota.
People have terrible memories. So.
You know, it's interesting. Because I kind of had it set up where I could see your faces as it was going. Like I could actually see the light bulbs coming on. Like, dude, sound, and I wonder if smells too, but like sound specifically, it's like
yeah, I think
triggers.
smell
right?
is like important for memory. Like you'll like that's why like when you smell something, you're like, oh, that takes me back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
sounds.
why when I'm taking a crap, I'm like, man, this smells like my last crap. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly.
No, it just
Remember
takes
that
me
from
just
earlier
takes
today?
me back to Chipotle or
So people make. That's why people make like facts out of songs or whatever. You know, like the name all the continents, and there's that dumb song that goes. I don't know if you had that in high school or middle school or whatever.
Music is very good with that. Yeah, for sure.
Well done. You guys crushed it. Good teamwork.
Oh, Kyle, I'm okay. You can't see it.
Oh my gosh.
I can't.
Penis colada water. Just so you
A lot
know,
of penis.
How much sugar is in that?
there's no sugar.
It's
Fake.
sugar free.
It's
Okay.
fake sugar.
How much
Well, that's
sodium?
still not
How much
good.
sodium is in there?
They couldn't just put real coconut flavoring in it, you know? Because there are drinks that do that, and you can just drink that and you won't die, you know, when you're 40.
There
You
was-
won't die when you're 40.
I'm already.
Or in your 40s, not when you're
yeah.
40.
what is it? He
Sounds like
the
he's
office.
definitely dying next
He
week.
You're
invests
dying soon.
the coconut penis drink. Remember that?
The
Coconut.
coconut penis.
He's like the coconut is very subtle. Like,
I do remember that. The coconut's very subtle.
this coconut's very
Oh
subtle.
my gosh. All right, guys, a couple headlines. There's, of course, a little bit more Sony Microsoft stuff. It's very interesting to hear the things that are being said that I think are usually like behind closed doors. We don't hear these conversations usually, but we're getting to hear it. We're getting to hear mom and dad fight without them closing the door upstairs. Like we actually
Daddy gonna get divorced.
So Sony, this has mostly been in writing, and they respond to each other after a few days, like after official statements are made or whatever.
As
Sony-
per my last email.
Yeah. Oh
That's what
man,
we
there's a
do.
lot of that going on, I think. Which is such a passive aggressive move. But Sony has said that the Call of Duty franchise is irreplaceable. So Microsoft said that's why we think the 10-year deal we're offering is long enough for Sony to develop rival offerings to Call of Duty. Like,
wow.
all right.
Wow.
That's
I mean,
the balls on the. I mean, Microsoft knows that the deal's gonna get approved, so like they're just kind of like, you know, here's what it is.
They're like here to, and Microsoft, at least in the last 2 console generations or so, they've been playing the long game. They're like, we're all about getting long-term subscriptions, being known as a gamer-friendly platform that can be played anywhere. Or they're much more interested in that than they are winning in the moment, because they know long-term they've got some things they're setting up, and I think it's paid off for them pretty well, even though they'll have things like last year where it's like pretty disappointing year for first-party software for them, like one of their worst in a while.
It may
But-
never happen again though, because of their tactic.
Kyle, that's exactly that's exactly it, dude. I feel like they're moving forward. They're setting themselves up to not really have many years like that again.
Yeah.
I think
it's super
what-
smart. And if anyone was like judging this generation on like business tactics, like Xbox is so far and away blowing PlayStation away.
I think so too.
And I don't mean that because like they're just in terms of their long-term business ethics or business tactics rather.
They're definitely
I know Sony's
long-term.
putting out more, but you know,
Long-term,
I just what are the legs on that when we're playing our 16th Ratchet and Clank, you know, or our 14th, you know, insert like big Sony thing here, like the legs will fall off that at some point, and those are the only big projects getting made right now are sequels. So,
Yep.
I don't know.
I think that's why Jim Ryan's. I think Jim Ryan's tactic was like, let's latch on to Call of Duty, but I don't think that was the biggest thing that he's scared of. I think Call of Duty matters. I'm not saying that. I'm saying because of how much this deal would bring to Microsoft, what you guys are talking about is absolutely true. Microsoft, or Xbox, I'll say, the last like 7 or 8 years has been. I'm not saying they haven't released good games. Just last year they released 2 stellar games at the end of the year, or actually 3 or 4 stellar games at the end of the year. But overall, objectively, they've been very poor. This new deal,
Or at least
sets them
sparse.
up-
They've been sparse, right?
Yeah, they've been poor to sparse.
Yeah.
But but this new deal sets them up for their future, like indefinitely. Like they Phil Spencer doesn't even have to do anything. He can literally just sit back and be like, a gazillion games are just gonna release because we have a gazillion publishers now. And I think that's the part that scares Sony is, do they have good developers? Absolutely they do. Do they have a lot of good IP? Absolutely. I still think they're the best currently, present day. They blow everybody out, and then I would put Nintendo second, but there's still a distance there, in my opinion. But I think in the future, I think this gives Microsoft a good shot at eclipsing both of them at some point. I'm not saying right now. And I think that's kind of scary for Sony. And I think that's why Jim Ryan's like, well, if I'm looking 10 years down the road, this is not good. Like, what am I going to do? Because he doesn't have the money to work with that Microsoft has. So
the only
it's a tough deal for him.
The only I guess argument with that possibly is, and obviously it's all subjective, right? Is the quality of the things coming out.
Yes, like, but the reason I'm not worried about the quality is because we know what they're purchasing. All the developers and publishers they're purchasing with this deal, they all create nothing but quality IPs. It's not. I get what you're saying. Like, if you're judging just before this deal happened, what Microsoft releases or Xbox releases, they absolutely release great games, but they also release a lot of poor ones. And like Tim said, they're very sparse. The developers they're getting, that's not their track record. Their track record is, I release nothing but good games, and I release them all the time. Like Bethesda releases good, id Software, all of them release good games all the time because they were separate from all these. They were a third party on their own, doing their own thing. So they had their portfolio set up just like PlayStation. So now you're bringing them in under Xbox. I think you're going to get nothing but quality titles consistently, just like we get with PlayStation. I just think it's going to end up being more because Microsoft has technically now, well, when it goes through, more.
It's interesting because they acquired Mojang, and so they became the Minecraft publisher. But and I'm not a big Minecraft guy myself. I know a couple of you played it a lot more than I have. I know my kids have liked it over the years, but that they've continued to allow those developers to do their thing. They didn't step in and gut the studio. Like Mojang is still doing their Minecraft thing. And not only that, they're pumping out new Minecraft games like Minecraft Dungeons, Minecraft Legends is about to come out. And these games are immensely successful across all platforms. So I look at what Microsoft's doing as a publisher when they acquire these devs to put names out under their brand. They don't always want to just shut down any activity across other platforms. So I feel like they've proven that. I understand that there's concern with Call of Duty. I totally get it. But they even suggested, by directly saying it, that, hey, when we make full use of PlayStation console features when releasing Call of Duty for Sony systems, it's possible that that'll be the better version because of what the haptic feedback they can do on that controller. They even said that, like, what the PS5 controller can do might even still make it the better version of Call of Duty for a while. So, like, they're actually saying, like, we have no plans on, like, pulling back on quality for our competitors. They didn't do that with Minecraft. Why would they do it with Call of Duty?
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, I think that's just Jim Ryan
and
arguing for...
Well, he's pulling out whatever threads he can. I understand it.
So, like, even like Elder Scrolls Online is owned by Xbox now, and they didn't go turn it off on Sony. Like, that's one of the most successful MMOs going right now, with new content every single year, and nothing changed about it at all. They get the same sales that Microsoft gets when everything's going sale on Microsoft and PC. Sony, it's parity everywhere, and that's the word that they're looking for. Sony, right? Is parity.
There he is. There's Jimmy Ryan.
He heard somebody say his name, so
integrity means everything. And if news came out, and it would come out in games media outlets, that clearly Microsoft was sabotaging certain versions of Call of Duty or whatever other games to make theirs look better, that actually tarnishes Microsoft's name more.
And that information would get data mined before the game came out.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Like everyone would know, like, and it would be the biggest story in the entire world, and and it would totally tarnish.
Sony acquired Bungie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when Bungie makes either Destiny 3 or their next IP, should Microsoft cry and try to sue them about it being exclusive? Like, it's almost certainly going to be.
That's not going to happen because we're in the right here. Sony's in the right. We're fine.
Thanks.
Okay,
thank
Jim.
you.
Thanks,
Jimmy.
What a shill.
Dan is Jim's anger translator.
Hold on. What was that, Jimmy? What was that? So Jimmy thinks that really, all right. So this whole thing about with the haptic feedback, all that shit, that's fine. What they want to do, it's
That's
a
how you
10-year
talk.
plan, right? There's gonna be microchips in the CDs, in the Blu-ray discs, right?
Okay.
So when everybody buys the PlayStation versions, they're actually extracting information from Sony servers and so on and so
true.
forth. So
That's true.
so Jimmy here is concerned really about people's safety, their privacy. Sony's privacy, everything on the back end. He's concerned about that, so he just
It's
wants
also
to
going to make a red ring of death appear on your PS5. And
right. It's actually going to burn. It's going to burn into.
It's going to start smoking out the back.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if legit an email came out like that. Like, what if they red ring of death us? Huh? Huh?
Yeah.
What are we gonna do about that, huh?
I find it so rich that they're still pitching this fit. And if you just look at anything on Final Fantasy 16, it is plastered with only on PlayStation 5. It's such a huge exclusive for them, and I know it's not as huge as, Call of Duty, so, that. I know the comparison's a little off, but, they're leaning so hard into going, this exclusive matters for our system or whatever. And it's so tone deaf because they're, fighting for the exact opposite thing for Call of Duty.
They acquired Insomniac. It's not like Insomniac has always been a...
They own competition.
Insomniac,
they own competition that you could just pay them money to make something good.
They probably think it's fine because it's Square is still their own thing, right? I mean, we didn't buy them. They're just we're just friends.
I'm sure that's their out. I'm sure that's
Square did that for free, probably.
Yeah.
Everyone's still waiting for Final Fantasy VII Remake on Xbox. That's a thing that people are still waiting for. Sony is they're a bully about the IP that they gather. They're bullies about it. They really are. But Xbox acquires this Call of Duty thing, and they just can't. It's just so crazy to me that they're just.
But I think it is because of, like you just said, that it's not exact one for one, right? I think it's because Call of Duty is this big,
But they have so many of this size acquisitions, and so 16 of these probably equal one. You know what I mean? If they have Final Fantasy Remake 2, if they have whatever Bungie makes next, if they have whatever Insomnia makes next, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, all these exclusives. All these exclusives probably equal, Call of Duty. So it's just, I don't know. It just seems silly to me. But it's not stuff. It's not stuff we all haven't said already. So
I like to make fun of it.
To me, it's the same thing. If I'm a big sports fan, so when an NFL team goes out and hire, they sign a huge free agent who made their name and got their skills and experience on a different team, and this free agent comes in. It's like the previous team just being furious, and they shouldn't be able to play in the NFL with players that we drafted, and it doesn't make any sense to me. It's no, they paid the money, and this the studio that they're purchasing is agreeing to be acquired by them and to merge. Everyone involved is agreeing. You're the team that feels left out, and you're mad about
with
this.
That comparison. And I agree with you, by the way, so I'm not fighting you. But with that comparison, what Jimmy Hat over here is whining about is in sports there is a governing body that would stop a team from being able to buy out every good player, and so that good
there's a salary cap. Right.
Exactly. So that one team can't buy every good player. So what he's complaining about is basically saying Microsoft has gone over their salary cap and they've bought too many good players, and we're upset about this. That's essentially what he's doing. So,
yeah.
And to be fair, we are talking mainly about Call of Duty, and that is the big name because that's the one they're whining about. But they also are aware there's a ton of IPs that essentially Microsoft has signed. That's the accumulative.
There's one that's in your background right now. That's huge.
Yeah, there's 30 or 40 it's like signing 30 or 40 free agent players that are all Pro Bowlers. That's there's a lot. There's a lot there.
There is.
It's a big deal.
But I mean,
sorry, Jimmy Hat. You're going down, buddy.
It reminds me of when
he's got the boxing gloves on. He might
in college football. Nick Saban got all mad that other teams were paying players to show up to their team, and I'm like, "What are you whining about? You've won every year, 9 out of the last 12 years or whatever. Stop whining and stop pretending like you don't do the same thing that they're doing too." That's how I think of it. It's you've had so much success and you've achieved it the same way this team's doing it, but it's just now this team is kind of doing what you can't. They've got a budget that you don't, so now you're mad about it. All right.
Yep, that's all it is.
Well,
Listen, we just don't want to be microchipped, all right? Xbox don't microchip
Red ring.
us.
I'm gonna hit old Jimmy Ryan with one more right hook here. Arcane
Ooh.
confirmed that Redfall was actually in development for PS5, potentially even as an exclusive. One rumor says, but it was definitely going to be on PS5, and that version was scrapped, of course, as soon as they were acquired. So sorry about it.
It's the all one too. That's why he's looking a little disoriented there. He's looking a little He's got the.
I like how Microsoft literally just said also like, nuh-uh.
Yeah, they were like, no, we didn't. Yeah, you did.
Like, well, who would have made that call then? You know,
you know what? I bet you they never directly said stop the PS5 version. They just came in like, hey, we're excited about this exclusive, and just looked him in the eye until they were like, yeah, no, it's exclusive. Like they probably just like this is a great exclusive you're making for us.
The one guy in the corner playing the PS5 version, and he just came over.
I don't want to see that controller in the studio ever again.
His foot just pushes the PS5 to the corner. All right, so Nintendo producer did say that for Bayonetta Origins, said that it's not the end of the Bayonetta series. See you, Jimmy.
See you, Jimmy.
So this was
he put up a good fight though this time. He really did.
He did. They
microchip arguments.
You need to edit a tear under his eye the next time you bring it on.
Yeah, you need to Photoshop a tear in.
Like different versions, and I'll switch it in. Like as the news gets worse.
Oh yeah. If we say something, he'll get
more tears coming down his face.
For Bayonetta, this Origins Cereza game that we talked about recently, that is not the end of the Bayonetta series, they're saying. So this is the quote: "We'd like to expand the world of the series with a collection of new games. We're currently working towards that." And they've spoken to Nintendo. They haven't spoken to Nintendo about it yet, but as a team internally, they're discussing it. But this, I got to thinking after Derek said this, I think, when we talked about this, it's a very strange game to try to target now a young audience with. Just a strange franchise, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it is an incredibly adult-themed series. And so it's a weird one to have like cutesy little storybook art style and characters and gameplay. But anyway, maybe they want to grow up beyond their adult.
Supposed to be Bayonetta kart racer.
No, it's a Bayonetta match 3 puzzle alert, so it'll be great.
It better be a kart racer. That's awesome.
So there you go. But anyway, there's more Bayonetta on the way.
Where she's doing like a split and a thong and dancing on her cart after.
One of those, like,
her cart is made out of her hair. You know, like.
It's kind of like those Barbie games where you just dress up Barbie and put makeup on her. It's gonna be that, but Bayonetta.
Yeah.
Like
that would be great.
That all sounds amazing.
On a stripper pole.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Bayonetta simulator. So let's talk some positive about Sony here. All right.
Okay.
First of all,
we got to stop bashing the ponies.
Because they've got some first-party games that I am thrilled about. I know you guys are too. Spider-Man 2, Tony Todd leaked potentially a September target release date for that game, even though it's not been officially announced.
Was that when the first one came out? Was it September?
It was
August?
September. It was a September release.
That tracks, right? Yeah.
In 2018, I think. Double check on that if you want.
I think it was.
But the guy who's doing the voice of Venom, Tony Todd, he was apparently
himself
interacting with folks on Twitter, and he responded to someone saying, "Looks like September," when they were asking about when it's coming out.
He was actually very specific. He was like,
and they
immediately a marketing push in August, and like, he was very specific.
So they'll probably have a state of play over the summer and announce the release date, but he kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit early.
So he's going to be replaced by somebody else.
I was going to say Jimmy immediately remove Venom for the new game.
Yeah. No, they just blame Tom Holland because Tom Holland loves to.
But they can't do a new character, so it's just a grayed out. Who knows what it is? Blob instead of Venom. It's just like,
a placeholder.
It's actually
who's a mute, so he doesn't talk.
But yeah, Spider-Man 2 in September, awesome. There's nothing else, no other huge game coming out in September, so we should be fine. There's no.
Is that sarcasm or are you being serious? I legit can't even tell.
Starfield is coming out in September. So.
Oh, of course.
Oh, that small game that somehow built a whole. They did a No Man's Sky and built 2,000 planets or something like that.
That's the one, Kyle.
Listen,
that's the one.
That game is just gonna work, okay? It's
just gonna dude. That game is gonna be so broken, and I'm gonna love it. Oh God.
You know what's gonna happen is that game.
Todd Howard assured us it will.
That game is gonna end up being, probably glitchy, but a blast to play, and no Sony pony will ever admit that it's fun.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
They would have if it was multi-platform.
It was never good too. Nothing they've ever done has ever been good. Yeah, that's why they re-released Skyrim 17 times.
Sure.
Because it's so bad. It's such a bad game. Yeah.
It's a bad game. It doesn't sell.
They failed at the 17th time, Kyle. All the other 16 times it didn't work,
worthless.
but the 17th time.
I've said it. I'm not a big Bethesda fan, but
Sure.
Starfield. The more I see of it, the more I'm like, okay, I could.
Bethesda's
totally
a very
see-
particular type of a
I could
flavor
totally
of RPG.
get lost.
You know what I mean?
I
So,
could
like,
totally get lost.
I
in this game.
get why people don't like it.
Good.
You know.
Also, I know that we're all excited. We talked about what we thought for season 2 of The Last of Us on HBO, but Bella Ramsey is saying she doesn't expect it to air until the end of next year or early the year after. So end of 2024, early 2025. That's a 2-year jump from season 1 to
fine.
season 2.
Yeah.
I agree that that's fine, but
take
2
your
years is a
time.
long time between seasons, don't you think?
No,
Is it?
take your time.
I mean,
No,
these
think
days
take your
it
time.
feels more normal these days. Sadly,
But she said
it?
the shoot when they start shooting, which is going to happen at the end of this year. It's going to be a full year, so that makes me think they're going to do part 2 back to back. Like
in
Oh, that
seasons
makes
2
sense.
and 3.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm
so like
thinking.
the new Game of Thrones, we're not getting that one a year apart. That's 2 years apart. You know, the last
Yeah.
Game of Thrones season that was 2
Lord of the
years
Rings
apart.
too, right?
Lord of the Rings, we're not getting for another. It's like everything
Those are,
takes
like,
time now.
different
Yeah.
because
Everything
of-
that's bigger
because
like
of,
this.
those
It
are
feels
different
that
because
way,
of
yeah.
post-production, though.
Westworld was that way every single season. It's
So,
a year
Again,
up.
those are all different because of post-production. Because like Last of Us is not using as many green screen or CG shots.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Sure.
So I feel like it has to do with the shooting schedule more than anything, honestly.
Yeah,
Because a
it
lot
just
of
kind of
shows that
fits
are
in the
mu-
trend of
that
just
are-
kind of shows taking longer to produce.
Definitely. And
A
I'm
lot of shows that
whether
are
it be
more
for
than
one
okay with
reason
that.
or another,
Yeah.
the
But
time
a lot
more
of shows that are
time
more
is being taken across the
practical.
board.
A lot of shows that are more practical do have a much quicker turnaround. 2 years would be pretty
Yeah.
strange for mostly practical shows. But Last of Us does have more. It looks like they're probably going to have to include, if they do more clickers, especially, they're going to have to do more
Oh my
special
gosh.
effects. Work.
I think
Yeah, not
they'll.
just special
I think
effects, but
they'll
like makeup.
upgrade.
It's gonna take forever.
Yeah, I think they're gonna.
What are they gonna do? A
upgrade.
practical Rat King? Come on.
I hope so.
I actually would not be surprised if it's like 50% practical.
I know it's not something that you
Come
want to
on.
wait long periods of time in between,
Cast
but
the
I almost
fat guy.
kind of wish they'd give her like a few years to like age up a bit. Because I just feel like she had. I know she's like technically right now she's the age that Ellie was
She's
in
20.
2, but she
Yeah.
looks like she's like 15 still. Like
But you could age her up like they aged her out
You
of
can
this.
age
They
her
put her
up.
in ponytails all movie, and they put her in baggy clothes.
I don't know.
You know,
I mean
You're
like
right.
naturally she has a very young look to
and
her.
kids
So
grow quick.
Yeah,
They
but
grow,
so does, like, Ariana
They
Grande.
grow
She's,
very
like,
like
my
a year
age
for
now,
them
so, I
is
mean-
is you know they can.
You know
get
what's-
yeah.
Look at
I
those Stranger
thought
Things
this-
kids. They became adults in 5 years.
Well,
You know?
also look at Alicia
Like-
Vikander when she did Tomb Raider. She got muscly and muscled up, and all of a sudden
Mm.
looked much tougher.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think about that movie, like she actually looked more the role of a hero compared to like some of her previous films where she was just kind of like the
She
smaller
got ripped for that
girl
movie.
character. She got ripped, and so I think Bella Ramsey, if they get her through the right routines, can make her look more like the Ellie we remember from part 2.
Mm.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I thought it was cool. Like I thought it was actually funny. I don't remember how I saw it. I was on YouTube. Something was advertised to me, but somehow I ended up on Bella Ramsey's like YouTube page, like her page.
Yeah,
And
she
all
has
it
a music channel.
All it is her doing worship music, and I was like, oh. So I didn't know she was Christian. Second of all, I was like thinking about the characters, the main characters she's played in like her shows, and they've all been like these badass, like
Where's this
strong-
inspiration from? Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got this sweet little girl. Because I watched a couple of videos, and just the way she talks, like the love of Jesus, and I'm like, you're like the sweetest little thing, and they've. In shows you play like this mean, badass, tough girl. It's
Well, yeah. Just wait till season 2 asks out of her what it asks out of her.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just thought
Well,
it was hilarious.
Speaking of season 2 of Last of Us, they did release a kind of teaser poster that featured a very muscly arm holding a hammer, and
Hammer time. It's hammer time.
it's hammer time. I wish they would have said that on the little subtitle. Last of Us Part 2, it's hammer time.
It's hammer time.
Transgender time.
Yeah.
Or if it just said 4, no, too soon. Okay.
No.
Or
It's in the rough.
It's in the
There's a lot of bad jokes.
hole in one.
a lot of dad jokes going
That's
on. I like
in the
it.
sand. You don't remember the old Microsoft? Like it was an old golf game on PC that used to say that.
I
You
remember
remember
that
that?
golf game on PC.
Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah,
just called Golf, wasn't it?
It might have been Microsoft Golf, something like that. But like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
from like the 90s and horrible graphics and stuff. But like you'd have a commentator that would always say like it's in the rough.
It's in the
Or
rough.
it would just sound very casual, like the developer
Probably
was
sounded
doing
a lot
it.
like the EA
Yeah.
Sports. It's in the game.
It's in the rough. Bats in the sand. That's another one that they would say.
All right, so some more news here. There's a game coming out called Life by You. So the executive who led the way with Second Life and The Sims has a new company that's creating essentially what they're saying is a competitor to The Sims called Life is You. And early access is coming out in September. It'll be a $40 game. But the idea is that you create humans, live out their lives in an open world, free of loading screens. I'm not sure why they said that. Loading screens haven't been a huge.
That's like a selling point now.
Well, because Sims is still like that. Sims still has like
Sims.
actual sections of like you have like where your house is, but then like if you want to go like down to like where there are shops or things like that, it's like it has to load. It's like, come on, guys, really.
It's a long load too. But for such a simplistic game.
The way Sims is actually set up is still pretty archaic. And I saw the trailer for this, and if they can nail it and it's like smooth and it's not wonky or like laggy or has those kind of issues, it looks like it will definitely be better.
I'm a gigantic fan of Sims, which is probably the stupidest thing I've ever said out loud.
I like Sims.
It's huge. I
like Sims.
Hundreds of hours into every single entry that come out. So yeah, I'd be really excited for something like this because nobody else has taken a crack at this. It's always just been
to this extent, right?
Whatever who does it again?
This is shoot. I just blanked out on EA publishes it, but the developer is
I have no idea.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But
fantastic.
It's been the same people who've been making The Sims forever. It's cool.
Played
that
a lot of
else's,
Sims 2 back in the day,
Me
and then
too.
a little bit of Sims 3, but a lot of Sims 2. My wife played a lot of Sims 2 as well. But so we would like create a whole like town and then have our own little families that we would be in charge of. Like
they've weirdly gotten more simple as they've gone on. Like they used to like choose a career and like you'd like start in an apartment.
That's what I
and,
remember.
Go into a house, and now it's just like. Just choose a career and live your day every day. And I'm like, where are all the goals though? Like what?
Oh, I like the goals.
It feels like there's not like a real like story anymore.
Okay.
Like or at least like main objectives.
I like constructing like the houses and the layout.
Building houses was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Sonic Frontiers is just had some free DLC release this past week. What they're calling the first of 3 content updates for Sonic Frontiers. It was just released. It's going to have some new features and modes. And it's called Sights, Sounds, and Speed of the Starfall Islands is the name of this first little pack.
Cool.
I don't know what's in it, but the roadmap talked about a photo mode, a jukebox, challenge modes. So that kind of fits with.
Did any of us beat that game?
No, I'm on the last. I'm on like what I think is the last section of that game, but I haven't like gone back in since I was like when we last like actually discussed it.
Okay.
I mean, it is. It's a swimming in sevens game, but it is really fun though. Like it actually is pretty fun.
I'm gonna buy it on PC when it's super cheap.
Yeah, the music is pretty phenomenal. Like I actually want a boss rush
better
mode.
Rain.
The music has no right to be as good as
not acceptable.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. But you can't go back to the bosses, and that's what's kind of a bummer because that actually is one of the highlights of the game. Because of the music that kicks in like with the boss fights, but they're actually pretty just elaborate. Like again, it's like a Dragon Ball Z fight, and it just like
so you
looks
can't
really
like
cool.
re-trigger a boss fight if you wanted to. Go back and
so you beat that boss and that's it. So I'm hoping that either this DLC or one of the future ones has like a boss rush mode because that would just be really fun to kind of go back in and like show people like, oh, here are the boss fights. Isn't this sick? Like
or some kind of chapter select or something where you could just like play that fight again.
Something where you can access that fight again. So because again, I was trying to show like my brother-in-law that, and then like I was trying to climb back up to the waterfall, and it's like it just wasn't.
You're like, wait, I'm gonna start a new game. Watch me till I get there.
Yeah. Give me about like 3 hours.
Respawn opened a third studio just to focus on Apex Legends. Obviously, they've got other things that they are doing, but
that studio's become a beast.
So This new studio is based out of Madison, Wisconsin. It's led by the guy who I guess did a lot of work on Call of Duty with Raven Software and was at Epic Games as well. So they're going to be essentially trying to deliver a new season of.
So Sony's going to buy them and make them be their next exclusive Call of Duty type.
Probably. But they're going to try to deliver a new season every 90 days for Apex Legends because they feel like it's got 10, 15 years more of that game. So,
I don't know if any of you guys really played that game, but I played a lot of it. It's actually
not more than one
round. I've never tried it. I've always wanted to because I know it's the Titanfall universe, isn't it? Right? Like
yeah.
I think that.
So if you enjoy Titanfall, it's just Titanfall. Well, it's not
without
Titanfall,
the mechs.
but
But
but it's
it's
like
a little Overwatchy with the classes and all that. Kind of stuff,
the
right?
mechanics
is it more
feel like Titanfall, but it's really good.
But isn't it like class based? Like you pick a class and that's who you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Each character has their own special.
I don't know why,
ability,
but when it
special
comes to multiplayer games, when it's class based like that, I don't know why I don't like that. I'm just like,
Me
I
too.
don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to be forced into.
Just
a
wanna-
I
role.
like it
Yeah,
when
but-
it's soft classes, like in Call of Duty or Battlefield, that's fine. But like the second it's like, no, you have to play your role. I'm like, but sometimes I want to shoot people, and other times I don't. Like I don't.
Well, that was what I was gonna say. It's different. Like Overwatch, like if I pick the Grim Reaper, I'm stuck with the shotgun. If I pick the guy with the machine gun, he's got a machine gun. If you pick a healer, yeah, you can technically kill people, but really you're just a healer.
You should be healing.
In this game, you're in like an open area / open world, and you're picking up all the same weapons everybody else is. You have the same ability to kill everybody as everybody else. So it's more like, what's the Call of Duty's version?
Warzone.
Warzone. So it's like Warzone.
It's a battle royale. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a battle royale. So it's like Warzone. Everybody has the same access to the same weapons, same gear. The only difference is you have a special ability. That's it.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
So
And now they're
that's
gonna
why I
have
said it's cool.
I think
It
it's cool
is
they have a
super
studio
fun.
that's just dedicated to that too. So
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really good. That studio, because I know there's a lot of success in that franchise or that particular game. Yeah, you need to put a whole studio on that. Like,
Yeah, I want them to keep making good single player Star Wars games too, though. So like,
So yeah, please start siloing that stuff off. Because like what we did hear about a like single player Apex Legends or a single player Titanfall game that was about to come out, but it got dropped.
I remember hearing about that.
So it's like maybe now that there's a studio that can kind of like be at the forefront of all things Apex Legends / Titanfall. Like maybe we start getting more stuff.
Yep.
I hope.
Well, we talked about Diablo 4 for a bit tonight, and Blizzard did say, kind of officially, they talked about how these issues with the beta and getting logged in, and the the bandwidth and all those have actually paved the way for a really smooth launch. They feel like they've found the issues that they're going to need to address and have buttoned up for launch. So that's a good thing.
Why are they lying? They're lying.
So you think launch is going to still be a mess? They're saying it's going to be a much smoother launch.
I think
launch
they'll.
for Diablo?
I think they'll be fine.
Diablo 4.
Diablo 4 day one for the launch is going to be a mess. 100%.
Yeah. I think day 2 will be smooth as sailing. Honestly.
I think day 2 will be
I
really
wouldn't
smooth,
take that day off.
and I wouldn't take that day off. Everybody. Yeah.
So like, if let's say
I would
that it
just
was
try
going to
after
be
work, and if it doesn't work a couple times,
maybe
just be
even
like, "I'll
that
try
evening,
tomorrow."
it might be better. It might be good by that evening, maybe even.
Yeah,
but,
whatever
like,
the problems were going to be, who knows what they would have been without any kind of beta testing or
Yeah.
anything. But because of these weekends, they're saying that it's going to be smoother. So maybe the problems will still be in place, but they're
I
saying
think day 1 problems will still be there for sure. Yeah.
I think it would be excellent if they were right, but I just
No, I'm not
historically
saying
video game
smoother. So like if it was going to be a like absolute
it could have been worse.
maybe now
obviously,
it's
if they
just
didn't try it.
maybe now it's like going to last
I
less.
think
long or
that's
whatever.
true for even the betas, because the first day for the closed beta, on that Friday, there were like 3-hour waits. It was absurd.
Yeah.
So the first day for the open beta, it was already like 30 minutes.
It was only
Which
30
was already
minutes,
an
yeah.
improvement. But
And
I
it
do
was way
feel
more
like
people,
full launch.
so
Yeah,
they
exactly.
are learning
Yeah.
with every launch.
I
but
feel like full
you know,
launch, because it's not free.
I think there's just always first day woes for anything
Oh yeah,
that's
there's gonna
server
be
heavy.
disconnects
You
and
know,
stuff.
like,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, but I, you're right though. I think that they'd be doing these betas, like obviously it put them in a good place to be more successful than just like, I don't know, maybe we'll just put it out and see what happens. You know,
exactly.
I would be ready to maybe flip off that like network login and just let them play single player, like, you know, if they have a meltdown. But maybe if everything's too tied to the online, you can't do that at all.
They won't do that just because
they never have
create it.
before. Not
Yeah.
Blizzard. You know.
Yeah. Well, Lord of the Rings Gollum has what I think is a pretty surprisingly soon release date of May 25th.
Can't wait.
That game has
I
been
actually
shown off.
I canceled Zelda so I could focus on
Sure.
Gollum.
Yeah.
You're gonna spend
I don't
2
think he's
weeks.
kidding. I think
just
he's actually
getting
telling the
hyped for
truth.
this.
I'll be playing Gollum, and you guys will all be gushing about Zelda, and I'll be like, "Yeah, but Gollum, I'm playing Gollum, guys."
The
Don't talk to me
impression
right now, Jeff. Don't talk
the
to me.
impressions that I'm seeing out of this are not super positive. A lot of people saying
It
this is
looked
definitely
terrible from
Yeah.
the very beginning.
This game's gonna be Derek's Precious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet
Could be.
it might be a swimming in 7 or 6.
I'm knocking it right now, but then when you all say I'm not playing that, it's trash, I'm gonna be like, I'm buying it.
Okay,
I'm the
but-
only one that's buying it.
To be fair, this seems more like that every once in a while I'll hit a Swimming in Sevens game because I love a good stealth game.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't
so
look like a Derek game
it
at all,
looks like it
actually.
could be like, for example, I loved Maneater a lot. That was a Swimming in Sevens game completely, and I loved that game. And that was never like a Derek Swimming in Sevens. So I think this
That game
might.
is so
Who knows?
ridiculous, though. I
It's
totally
so
get it.
awesome. It's so
Yeah.
awesome. It's stupid, but it's so fun. But I feel like Gollum, because of I watched some of the stuff, some of the stealth mechanics. I'm like, well, I know that doesn't look amazing, but could be fun because I do like a
Yeah.
good stealth game when
There's
you can.
yeah, exactly. There's potential with those
What if
mechanics
there's like
in that world.
a beautiful amount of like Lord of the Rings lore and stuff like
Oh
that
my
too?
gosh.
You know,
Isn't
it's
it
just a
made-
moment to be in that like world and see those
Isn't it made
Peter
by
Jackson-esque
the-
visuals and stuff.
The Styx team, the developers who made
I think it is the same ones. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
those
it's
Styx, actually, those games, I didn't like them or anything, but those games, for the most part, I think as they kept releasing them, the scores on reviews kept getting higher. So I think this developers, at least I will say,
Trending in the right direction.
they're a Swimming in Sevens developer.
Okay.
They're
Yeah.
going
So
in the right direction.
I think with expectations that hey, this is a AA game that happens to have a super popular IP.
I
know,
just
that
find
it's
that
licensed.
weird. Still feel
Yeah,
like
it's
that's
weird. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
And
But I
it's
mean-
tricky with stealth because stealth I think is kind of niche, right? Is that safe to
I
say?
think it is.
Stealth?
I think it
I
is.
I would say so. Yeah.
So you have to have something like Kojima level Metal Gear Solid kind of wackiness. Like you got to have something that's like keeping people like in it paying attention and wanting more and to keep going. Like because that series is bonkers and it's amazing, right? Like, but then you have Lord of the Rings, which is like, oh, okay, well, Lord of the Rings is amazing, but like you're just sneaking around as Gollum. Like, yeah, I guess it would have to have like characters that you're seeing and I guess maybe interacting with sometimes and.
Can
that
I
are
just
super
say,
compelling, like
right? Well, yeah, I mean, if y'all tell me there's one moment where you can like initiate some sort of like trivia contest or whatever they do, like in The Hobbit, where he's like, you gotta solve 3 riddles, I'm buying the game. I'm in. So,
Wow,
like that's just like you can just walk up to
Kyle's
anybody
not
and be
asking for
like,
much.
riddle me.
What I
Smaug
think of
needs to
is
show up.
the first Plague Tale game was a AA game that I fell in love with, and I loved it. And it had some pretty janky combat, and the stealth wasn't perfect, and the puzzles were good but not amazing. So but I ended up loving that game because I was just so into the world and all those gameplay elements. I was like ready to give a kind of a Swimming in Sevens type pass to on some of those pieces. Thankfully, the sequel, of course, improved all those areas, I think. But Gollum could be a little like Plague's Tale, where it's like, hey, I happen to love the world and the story so much that some of the 6 and 7 out of 10 type elements of visuals or gameplay, I'm fine with that because I just love what they're doing so much. So I hope that's what it is. And
maybe it tells a story that you cry during.
Maybe I'll cry about Gollum.
Maybe you'll cry about Gollum.
It's a tragic character, man.
Wasn't
He
Gollum
is, yeah.
sitting
What if
in
they
a
really
cage
pull
for,
on the
hundreds of
heartstrings?
years? Like, wasn't he just like in a cave for
That's
hundreds of
what
years?
the first half of the game is him just trying to escape the cave, but he can't. So you're just playing him for 20 hours.
He gets his
in the
ring
cave.
stolen. He's like, I guess I got to go outside again.
What if it's literally like press square to stroke the ring? Like that's really what it is.
Do you even have the ring? Does it show him like going invisible and stuff like that? Because I always kind of figured this was like, okay, yeah.
If it did, I didn't see it. All right, so this is this game from Leslie Benzies, former GTA boss over with Rockstar. This is one of the more confusing things, but I think I kind of have my head wrapped around it a little bit. He's got a new studio that he launched called Build a Rocket Boy, and they did talk about how they're launching this game They announced their game everywhere. I know they announced their game that's called Everywhere. That's the name of the game, Everywhere. This is not a who's on first situation.
Stupid
yeah.
Names everywhere.
But we didn't know much about the game. That we just knew that they were making kind of an open world experience called Everywhere. Well, they've released a little more details about it. The idea is that this is their quote. It's a new platform that offers a world of endless possibilities where you can be whomever you choose and forge your own path. So they're calling Everywhere a platform. So I immediately thought of like Dreams or
it's a launcher of some sort. Yeah.
Within this open world experience, I don't know for sure if that's what it
PlayStation Home. I'm getting PlayStation Home vibes.
I'm getting Roblox vibes.
Roblox, but like like a modern GTA open world looking thing that has like Roblox type.
Like just call it a freaking game. Why do they have to? Like, it's this like.
This is what I think.
Experience.
But there's a game within this
Creed
game.
was trying to announce the other, like when they were like, we have this thing that you walk around and you can like initiate
Mirage
other. I think like this is kind of their version of that too.
Okay. But they did announce a separate project called Mind's Eye, and the trailer looks like a kind of a big epic action adventure I don't know, whatever kind of a game. They're calling it a high octane AAA story driven action adventure game. I'm like, all right,
That's
take it
awesome.
easy. It does look
It
cool.
looks
though.
sick, dude. Yeah.
But this game, Mind's Eye, is exclusively available within Everywhere, as opposed to being released as a standalone product. But
it's everywhere.
Yeah, but the studio says these are distinct products from each other somehow. So, listen, I don't know what's going on here, but I think you have
their thoughts are a little everywhere as opposed to a little focused. You know?
Well, in their Dan, in their mind's eye, they see it clearly though. So
sure.
So Everywhere is
Well done.
basically PlayStation Home.
You just got
PlayStation Home. I thought of PlayStation Home as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
that's what I was saying. Yeah, PlayStation Home.
So it's like a social space, and then you
that's
can
what
probably
Roblox is. They took
Yeah.
PlayStation Home and did a better job of doing
Yeah,
It's
it.
possible that it is a like completely story-free, mission-free open world that you can just drive cars around and do whatever and shoot at things.
If it's like online,
There are a lot of VR games that are like this too, where it's like you exist in a hub world and you like visit other parts of the world and they
like
open
little
into
games.
other games
or
or
whatever?
experience. Yeah, I mean it's like that's
Yeah,
everyone's trying to build their own metaverse. So it's like I thought there was only supposed to be one
But
metaverse.
nobody
that
cares
was
about the
point.
metaverse, so nobody cares about them.
I know.
I don't really like
Tell that to
this,
Zuckerberg.
like why we're trying to reinvent the way that we launch.
Dude, I already saw his $1,500 VR headset drop to $1,000. It completely bombed.
Yeah.
So if
Completely
they had
bombed.
just
The Facebook
announced,
Yeah.
if they had
dropped
just
from
announced
1,500 to 1,000.
Mind's Eye, and this is from the former GTA boss, and then just show that trailer, I think I, along with many others, would have been like, "This is awesome." But now I'm just a little bit more like skeptical.
Huh?
Like,
Yeah.
this is within some kind of a game.
Definitely have more questions than
that I have to
anything.
buy.
Again, you lost me at platform. Like, just make a game and let
Yeah.
people play the game.
But we'll see. Everywhere is supposed to be out sometime this year. That's what they've said. Mind's Eye, they did not give any kind of release date.
I really hope they start marketing it. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe
show
we
us
start
what-
figuring out what it looks like and it's
Someone
like and everything.
what it looks like to actually fire this game up and access Mind's Eye. Like, what does that process look like?
And do I have to have a 100 gig thing on my 500
Yes.
gig PlayStation?
That's a good question.
Like
Yeah.
forever to launch like other games that are also like
No, thank you.
100. Yeah,
This game's
I
going to
don't
be
know.
like 500 terabytes, like basically. Like, it's going to be
That's
the
great.
whole hard.
And here's the twist: they actually need Microsoft's cloud to run it. Oh, dang it! God, another exclusive. They got him. Yeah.
Lego 2K Drive is a
That
game
looked
that's
cool.
set to release.
looks
It's
so
actually
cool.
releasing in just a couple months on May 19th. So announced and releasing within 2 months. I love that.
Definitely canceling Zelda. Yeah.
Although I do think
Yeah.
we knew that they were creating a Lego racing game. We didn't know exactly what it would be. There was some talk about it a while back, but now it's just been officially revealed. Here's what it is. And so they're describing it as an open world game with single and multiplayer elements where you can build any vehicle you like, developed by the studios behind WWE 2K and NBA 2K studios. And so, but yeah, it's gonna have open world with different biomes, races, mini games, a little bit. I think Jeff, you mentioned this. Forza like kind of sounds like.
That's
right?
what it reminded me of when I
It's
saw the
a little
gameplay.
better.
I was like, oh, it's like Forza. You
I
literally
actually
just drive
thought-
from race to race. Yeah.
I actually originally thought it was just DLC for Forza. Like, I thought it was the new
Yeah,
DLC that was
sure.
coming out. I'm like, why are they doing Lego again? And then I was like, oh, this is its own thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
it looks
got
pretty
it.
cool. Looks
They
pretty
did
cool. Goes
Hot
out-
Wheels, sir. How dare you? Hot Wheels is so different.
No, they
from
did
Lego.
Lego.
Did they? I
hmm
don't remember them doing a Lego one.
Not
Interesting.
for Forza 5.
No,
but
I
they
don't
did
remember
it-
one. Period.
I think
at
it was
all.
for
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
It's either for it was for 4.
I think it was for 4.
The best one. The best one.
This Lego
I-
2K Drive game is coming out for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch, and PC. So it'll be everywhere, and it looks
Why
pretty
isn't
good.
it coming to Stadia? I'm just kidding.
Or Luna.
Hey,
Don't
I
forget
still
Luna.
have Stadia.
You
Don't
know,
forget-
That's impossible. It's been.
I like the idea of developers
I
showing
still
up
have
at
the
the.
product.
I like the idea of developers showing up at Stadia offices, but it's kind of like in Star Wars Episode 4 when they show up and Alderaan's gone. They're like, what
Yes.
happened? Where's the
Everything's on fire for some reason. What
planet? Was right.
happened?
It was right. It was right here. Where's Stadia? This is
It
where
was in
Stadia.
all
is.
the wrong
Ground.
places.
They're
That's
checking their
badass.
GPS. Like it says Stadia's right here.
Y'all-
I actually got an email like 3 months ago saying they were going to refund me, and I never got the refund.
Oh, there you go.
Rude.
The
Maybe
card
you
that's
Google
tied
the
to it
refund,
doesn't.
I guess.
Couple
Yeah.
of jerks. So this is kind of a reverse of what we've been hearing with sexual harassment stuff in the workplace in the video game industry. So Chris Avallone, which I don't know if you guys remember that, he was accused of some pretty nasty stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
But he did a reverse lawsuit for libel against these two women who had originally said that he was, abusive, abrasive, conniving, sexual predator, and that was just part of what they said about him.
It was
so if
just
someone
two
says
women
that said this too, it wasn't
these
wasn't
two
like
women.
multiple words like, oh, you can't really refute
these
that
were the
or
two
whatever.
names attached to it. I don't know if there were other people who also like chimed in anonymously, but there were these two women behind it.
I didn't know enough about the guy to look into it even
But listen,
more.
if someone is called a sexual predator, that doesn't sound like something that can be misconstrued as something else. You're saying that he is aggressively going after people for the intentions of bad things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he was able to go back after them for a libel suit. They've just settled, and he has claimed that he's getting a 7-figure payment to cover all of his legal costs for the last few years, as well as other damages. And they released a statement that included, Mr. Avalone never sexually abused either of us. We have no knowledge that he ever sexually abused any woman. We have no knowledge that he ever misused corporate funds. Anything that because they accused him of that as well. Anything we previously said or written about him to the contrary was not our intent. And then they go on.
So when are they going to jail?
Dude, no, they're paying money. They're gonna be paying money the rest of their lives, basically.
They're gonna file. Millions. They're gonna file bankruptcy.
It's a millions of dollars.
I declare
million. It's
bankruptcy.
I like how Oscar comes in and goes, "That's nothing. That didn't.
That's not.
You can't just declare something." So that actually, it's like a $7 million settlement or something, and legal fees. That doesn't even include the legal fees.
Which is
those are like double what they actually.
It's been 2.5 years of this. So
yes,
it's a lot. But I just wanted to highlight that one for a couple reasons. But one of them is that every time we hear one of these stories, and I think for the most part, rightfully so, we think these jerks in the executive roles, these horrible people. Every once in a while, it's good to be reminded, like, hey, sometimes there's bad people from the other side of these
making
two,
stuff
and,
up,
and it's a little more
makes it quite the minefield to.
Well, yeah, because then the whole like Me Too
you know
thing.
What? It should be, because unless it's real, you shouldn't say it. So it should be a minefield. Like, don't venture into this unless you're
What's his face?
For the spectators, though, you want to like chime in, like it's quite the money,
Yeah, and
because you don't know, you weren't there, you're not there, and so you're watching two people publicly who had a private moment, whether it be true or not true, and we're just all here like with popcorn going like or nah, or
just look at the news reaction to the Jussie Smollett stuff. The first couple weeks after that happened, and then as it slowly unraveled, everyone kind of tried to, like, as Bill Burr would say, slide out of frame. Like, I don't want to be a part of this conversation anymore.
I mean, and he ended up getting sued by the city, by Chicago, and I mean, like,
they won, right?
It's it is a minefield out there.
It is a minefield.
He is declaring bankruptcy as well.
Probably.
All right, back to fun gaming news to close out our headlines.
Quick question though. What's the guy's name that created the show? You guys like Justin Roiland or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
He's another one. I'm not saying he did. I know. I'm not saying that he didn't do anything wrong, but I'm just saying that things were dropped. So that's my point. Like, there are certain things where, like, people will be said that they're guilty when they're really not. Then there's stuff that will be like where it seems like somebody's not guilty, but they really were. You really don't know. Even when somebody pleads, that doesn't mean they're guilty. Sometimes it's just like, my options are to fight it. I fight it, I pay millions, or I pay this person $500,000 to go away.
Yeah, we here on the Lemmings level, like we don't know the whole story, of any of these situations. Yeah.
Being innocent until proven guilty is not a thing anymore, right? There's no innocent until proven guilty. Everyone just makes.
We're in the middle of a new one with Jonathan Majors, so
I just saw that, Jeff. I just saw he's been accused of assaulting somebody.
Yes, like the person that was assaulted was allegedly his girlfriend, and she had like all these marks on her. Like, she had clear bruises and lacerations on her. Like, she went to the hospital and stuff like that. It's
that's
just
gonna be
like
a weird one for Marvel.
Yeah.
Stop dating.
Yeah.
Like,
I found a guy on Twitter. I found a guy on Twitter that went to Yale with him or something like that. That was involved with the theater community with him, and he was like, I have all these receipts of people that have been abused by this guy and blah, 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 blah. So, like, Jonathan Majors is just starting. Let's just put it that way. I feel like this is going to unload a lot of stuff, and it's so upsetting because
he might become Jonathan Miners.
We were just.
I needed that.
I don't get that joke. I don't get it at all.
I don't get that joke.
Like on Current Cinema, we were just gushing about this guy, and like, obviously, if it's factual, whatever. Like, obviously, we're gonna feel for the victims, and it's really sad and stuff. But like, on our level from the outside, like, you can't help but feel like disappointed.
I know
when somebody.
It always feels like the really extra
how good they are on the field.
In the spirit of Bill Burr, I'm just asking, like with women, like
what did she say to him?
Yeah, that's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking.
She said she saw him texting another woman, and when she went to look at his phone, he got aggressive. That's when it happened.
Dude, his Bill Burr's bit about Chris Brown and Rihanna. So funny.
I don't remember that bit for some reason.
Look it up. It's really funny. I'm not. Whatever.
I mean, how can you say there's no reason to ever hit a woman?
That's kind of his.
I know I'm coming off a little ignorant right now, but hang in there with me.
Believe all women.
There's plenty of reasons.
there are, but like I saw her face, and no.
I know, but it's a funny.
They're doing a Bill Burr bit.
I know. I know, but where he's coming from, I'm just saying it kind of rings a little false when you see the face. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
There's obviously lines crossed.
Yeah. But I know. Yeah. But
I think part of his bit is like.
No. Daniel Tosh had a better bit about.
Oh look, there's some ice cream. We should get some ice cream.
Daniel Tosh's bit was way freaking better, where he was like, "Really? There's no excuse?" Because that feels like a challenge at this point. So when you're coming home from work and your wife has drowned one of your kids, and she's putting the second one down, is it cool then?
Is it cool then?
Are we good there? Can we get her
I
now? And then he says, and then I think the joke was, or maybe she took my order wrong at McDonald's. I'm just saying there's a gray area. That was his joke.
I love that.
He always goes dark to where you're like, whoa, I agree with that. Whoa.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. All right, well, let's finish with some exciting gaming news for our last headline here. A darker, more mature Ninja Turtles game is in development. This one promises to be darker, more mature. It's also promised to be a single-player game. Of course, we know TMNT games tend to lean into the multiplayer-friendly nature of those games, much more lighthearted. But Paramount Global's senior vice president for games, Doug Rosen, said, and he didn't tell us who the developer is, but he said it's a great partner for this type of game. We just don't know exactly who it is yet till they officially kind of reveal the game and talk about it. But he cited the recent God of War games as a comparison to what they're going for here with a third-person action RPG. Is what they're going. So it's based on The Last Ronin, which is this 5-issue comic series released.
Which that would also make sense of why it's not multiplayer too.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, because. Well, I won't tell you why, but yeah, Kyle kind of hinted as to why. Like things aren't going great for the whole.
It's an incredibly dark, take on the TMNT.
Very exciting though. Like
it's a really cool comic book.
Is it just a comic, or have they released like a?
I don't think they've ever done a movie.
The live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, and you'll get the same sense. It's pretty much the same story.
It's the same story. Yeah. Sorry, everybody.
That movie is definitely not garbage.
Is that the one that Kevin Nash played Shredder, or that?
No. The third one is where they time
travel to Japan.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're samurai.
So good.
They're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but they wear samurai armor the entire game. It's pretty interesting.
The idea
you could tell a bunch of white people made that movie for sure.
Oh, 90s. Tom Cruise and Matt Damon were advising on that film.
Casey Jones was a chaperone for the misplaced Japanese samurai, and they were just basically caricatures of Japanese people the whole movie. It was terrible.
I mean, this has been a thing for a long, like even back with wrestling with Yokozuna, when he was clearly a Pacific Islander who was playing a Japanese.
Yes, he's part of the Rock's family of Samoan.
Yeah. But they were like, no, he's Japanese. We want him to speak with a really obnoxious, bad accent.
Oh my God.
For most of his time on the mic.
Oh my God.
Simpler times, you know. Not saying
Simpler
they were
times.
better times. They were simpler.
They were
Simple-minded
different.
time.
They were different.
There we go. Simple-minded time. That's a
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah,
good
simple-minded
summary.
Oh
time.
man! All right,
All
well
that
let's
to say, I can't wait for this game. That's all I'm gonna say.
say I want to see this full reveal. I want to hear who's working on it. Like, give me some
same.
beats. You know,
But
I'm
do
looking
you
forward to
guys know the story though, right? Like the general
No.
gist of
the setting. Well, the setting of it is that it's set in the future, and
Yeah.
3 of the turtles are no more.
Or
That's
dead,
kind of the setting.
you know. And the last
this
Ronin
one, which I forget which one it is like carrying their weapons. Like
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Nebulous for most of it. At the very end, it's
You might even
revealed or
pick.
something like that.
Like in the game, they might let you pick.
That's actually a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
I can't
Yeah,
imagine
'cause they
Michael
could do,
Wayne.
But yeah,
like,
being a
but,
good
yeah,
choice for that,
he
though.
used the lone survivor uses all the way. It's super cool,
All
man.
the-
It's
yeah.
really dark. Yeah, it's super dark.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm
down
all
with
on
that.
board for this idea.
Yeah, man. Very cool. All right, so let's open it up to wrap things up with anything else we're watching or playing. I did finish Hogwarts Legacy, which is nice to check something off the list because I needed to clear something. So that one I'm done with, and I knew this would happen because there was still a few little lingering like collectibles and things. I'm level 37. I could do more, but as soon as I finished that game and it kind of threw me back in, like, hey, there's more to do. There's more like enemies to track down. I was like, I don't think so. I think I'm good.
Dude, the same thing happened with us with Horizon. Like there was so much extra stuff that at a certain point you just have to walk away.
And
from
then when I finished the story, I'm like, I think I'm done. And
I did the same thing with Yakuza or Like a Dragon Ishin. Like I had a lot more stuff to do, but I'm like,
gotta move
I wrote
on.
those credits, man.
Because I'm
Time
still
to move
going
on.
through Octopath Traveler 1. I'm almost done. I've only got, and I'm down to 4 bosses left. They are tough though. The problem is like it takes a long time to get the right crew together, get the right subclasses and all their equipment, and then you have to figure out like, oh, okay, this enemy does a lot of like terror or unconscious attacks or whatever. So you have to like figure out, okay, I need to make sure I have the right stones to resist this attack because I got wiped, even though I'm a really strong group, because I didn't have these conscious stones that keep you awake because they have one move that knocks everyone unconscious, and then they get to attack like 4 times in a row, and you're dead. So I was like,
yep.
Man.
That keeps happening to me with Octopath Traveler 2. I technically am just gonna say I beat it because I beat the
main characters. Yeah.
But what I am gonna say, I beat it. I beat the story I chose. I beat it.
Okay.
But I am going to
Okay.
finish. I'll finish the rest of the characters, but I'm moving the game from my main to like it's now moved to my secondary. Meaning
when I have time. Yeah.
like exactly, like it's time for me to get through like Hogwarts and Resident Evil and stuff like that. I put Resident Evil I didn't put on the back burner, but Hogwarts I put on the back burner because I really got into Octopath. But I am running into that where it's that. Every boss, like there's been a couple I've died a couple of times, but it didn't make you feel like, oh, this guy's impossible.
Yeah.
Every boss now that I'm running to after Throne, again, all these are the end game bosses, feel impossible. Like
They're so tough.
Like
in the first game too, I mean they're tough. Yeah.
What's the samurai? What's his
Hikari.
name?
Hikari.
So Hikari's is basically you fight one boss. Well, first of all, you fight one boss. You beat them. They're very difficult. I had trouble with them, and then I beat them, and I knew they weren't the end boss. I just thought there was just going to be one other boss, but no, it's you fight another boss, and then you fight a mini boss, and then you fight the main boss. But here's the thing: they're back to back to back. So if you die, you have to start over with that first boss again.
Nope.
Sure.
Then I was like, okay, I'm not doing this.
It's some big Final Fantasy X energy right there.
So it really annoyed me, and I was like, okay. And it was doing the same thing where it was like, it would stun me, or it would do an attack and wipe out like 3 or 4 of my guys. So then I would heal them, and then it would just attack 3 times in a row, and I'd all die. So I was like, okay, this is stupid. So, and I even looked up strategy, so it wasn't like I was just doing the same thing over and over.
Right.
So then I'm like, well, I'll just go to another character and fight their boss. Same thing happened. Not the back to back to back. But the last boss is just, oh, I'm going to hit you 4 times. I'm like, why do you get to go? I'm literally, you know how I talk to my games. I'm like, why do you get to go 4 times? Why do you get to go 4 times?
So what I wanted to say about 1 is that so far, at least with the 4 bosses, the final bosses that I've beaten, they're all tough. Only 1 did I beat on my first try. I just kind of like fought through and like used all the skills and items that I could and won. That felt good. The other ones, I would die, realize what the strategy is, kind of go retool, come back, and then win. But for one of them was really tough, and I just had to look up some guides, and I got some tips on like, hey, make sure you get there's 4 conscious stones, for example, this unconscious move.
Yeah.
So I just followed the guide online and just went to where they are. They're just in different forests or castles or whatever that I've already been to on the map. So I just went back and had to find these hidden chests that I had missed. I think I only had 2 and I needed 4. So things like that, like getting the right piece of equipment, getting the right accessory that kind of makes you immune to the thing that kind of ruined it. That actually felt kind of good. I went back and fought him again, this particular boss, and it was very doable. It all of a sudden became like a 20-minute battle, and I was done.
That's that's the kind of thing I like with RPGs, and for all these years I've been playing them, is that element of that type of strategy, that approach of like, all right, well, I'm getting my ass whooped because of XYZ reason. Is getting an accessory gonna help? Is having a certain weapon gonna help, or a certain ability gonna help? You know what I mean? Like that's one of
same with like
really
finally started using the move leg trap by the hunter, like that moves the enemy's attack to the end of the turn.
Yes,
that made a huge difference. I've
seen that with some walkthroughs of bosses that I found a little difficult to handle. I've seen people use that in 2.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, that's such a great move.
It is great. Now you can't move when they're coming out of a break. They're gonna attack first when they finally wake back up. You can't move that, but you could like power it up, and for the next 5 or 6 turns, you can make them act at the end just to make sure you have plenty of time to break.
So
like, things like that are nice.
Going off what you just said, that's one of the reasons I got frustrated. Is I was dominating Hikari's last boss, and then it comes out of a break, and he gets 4 turns.
Yeah.
4 turns.
I'm like, dude, you don't get to go 4 times when I can't do anything to you. You just came out of a break. I can't put you to sleep again. Like I can't move you back on anything. So that's why I didn't like that. I was like, it felt cheap. I know there's a strategy, but I haven't figured it out yet.
The second game when you defend right before they come out of a break, if you defend, does the second game boost up your speed to move you ahead? Because I've done that before. I've defended. If I see, hey, they're about to come out of a turn, instead of attacking, I'm going to defend. And sometimes, not always, sometimes that's enough to bump you up ahead of them on the next round of turns.
Yes, but wouldn't you have to defend with all your characters, which means that you putting them in that break, you don't even get to do any damage.
Yeah, it limits how much damage.
But you're building up battle points at least, though. That's what. So
but I already saved all my battle points.
Sure.
Because one of the bosses, I don't want to confuse them, but one of them is weak to sword. So I have Hikari and Oswald, who both have the warrior ability. And one of the special abilities in the warrior thing is, I forgot the name of it, but you strike an enemy 3 times. So it's only one move, but you strike them 3 times. So if they have like 9 to break, you use that attack by them, it takes off 6 of that 9. And then my other 2 characters can put them in a break right away. Of course. So I'm like, cool, awesome, I broke you. And I have BP built up. Mm-hmm. But this one boss was just like, oh, cool, I'm done with the break. Now I'm gonna freaking kill you. You're dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, those are frustrating.
And I'm high level, by the way. Really high level. They
also take a lot of focus, because you might have to start going like, all right, the only way to beat this guy is at the right timing. I have to now debuff his physical attack with one of like my dancer or whoever. Like I had to
do that with one of them.
Yeah.
I had to use Hikari's ability to slow them down so they don't get to go as much. And then I was using Throne's ability to lessen their physical attacks because they were wiping me out.
So there's also,
this was for Throne's boss.
If it's physical attacks, one way that I got past the boss was, it's a little bit of a cheese, but I was able to survive for a few rounds until I had full BP with my merchant and my dancer. So the dancer did a move where you make something that's normally against, for one person, and it's going to apply it to everybody. Mm-hmm. And then my merchant did sidestep. And so everyone had, and I charged it up, so everyone had a whole bunch of sidesteps, which basically means the next physical attack will miss. And so like they'll just dodge. And so I had them dodge, and like that helped me a lot.
So that's what I think here's what I think it is, why I'm running into a wall, is I basically have 5 high-level characters and then 3 low-level. Yeah. And I already noticed with Throne's boss, I needed Ochette. She was the difference maker. So I went and built her up, brought her in, and then I killed Throne's in boss because of her. I think that's what's happening here. I think there's certain characters that I need for these bosses that maybe they're underleveled and I haven't utilized them. I don't know all their tools, their abilities. So that's why I said I still love the game. I'm not knocking the game. The game's good, and I agree with Dan.
Yeah, that's
you know,
what the game
I'm not.
is, right?
I'm not.
It's
yeah,
old
I'm
school.
Not,
I mean, it's the most old school, hardcore, new age RPG out there. You know,
there's no easy mode with this. If there was an easy mode, it would be Derek. Just level up, and then you can just kill them with melee.
Dude, look up some of the secret classes because those can make a huge difference.
Yeah, there's 4, I think.
There's 4 of them. So and you're strong enough now. I bet you could take down a couple of those optional bosses and get some of those
I'm
secret
always
classes.
strong, Tim. I'm a strong, independent woman.
That's my secret. That's my secret.
So
yeah,
there you go.
so I'll
Octopath
keep playing
2.
it. It's still a great game, but no, it's not.
So in this discussion is helping me discover that I love the first half of RPGs like this so much. The first half is like I am on cloud 9,
and then you're like,
and then when it gets too difficult and I have to do homework, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go find something else to do. Like that's just my build. That's just how I am.
It does trigger that same effect in my head that I had with Elden Ring, where it's like, all right, let me think and plan and strategize and like get the right items.
And I don't have that in me. I'm that's so where my laziness gets in the way.
No,
I saw Ryan's post. I think it was either today or yesterday, where he beat like the second or third boss, and he even said. It's funny that he says this because this is literally what every Souls player says, and then people that are non-Souls players get pissed about it. But he was like, if you have the patience to learn, these games are amazing. It's like, yeah, that's what literally everybody's been saying to you for the last
That's the point
decade.
Of these games, yeah. Exactly.
If you're willing to, it's not me calling people stupid. I'm not being arrogant. If you're willing to learn the game because you are ignorant, just like I have no problem saying, Derek, you're struggling with Octopath 2 because you are ignorant of JRPG's systems. You do not know them on the level that you could look at that character and be like, oh, that's what he's doing to me? I'm going to counter it with this. I'm not smart enough. I don't have that knowledge yet. I have to have somebody tell me, Derek, do this. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll do this. But with Souls games, I was like that in the beginning too. But then when I got good and knew the systems, now I just go into them and I don't need somebody to tell me, Derek, do this. I'm like, I know what I got to do.
So got good a lot of times is like get educated. It's probably more.
Yes, I've said that from the beginning.
Get an education.
Get education.
Because everyone was being nice when all these years.
Totally nice. Yeah, they were like, go learn.
Oh, I've been misunderstanding the whole fan base. They just wanted me to get educated. They were screaming at me for being I can't even repeat some of the things I've been called here.
Equals education.
But by the way, when he posted that, I remember the feeling of beating Godric, who I kind of thought like, all right, maybe this is where I'm going to get stuck and kind of let this game go, because I thought he was kind of tough. But after you beat him and you open up the next section, I think that's when the magic of that game hit. So I was excited for him. Like, that's when that game became like this magical experience for me. Was once I hit the Liurnia Lakes, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Remember like the library or the academy is?
Yeah, that's where the library
is. Yeah, I got all the way there. That place is awesome, yeah.
With his posts and then it just releasing a ray tracing patch, I was like, maybe I want to jump in and at least check out Elden Ring again. Like, I haven't played
finish Octopath.
Wait for the DLC. Wait for the expansion or whatever.
A couple demos out too. Jeff, I know you played some Strayed Lights. I played it a little bit. What do you think about this?
That game is really cool, man. This might be another one where I end up getting lazy and dropping it after I buy it. But, at least starting out, it's got a really cool like combat system where it's parry focused. Yes, you do have attacks, but they're kind of pointless if you don't parry. Because parrying fills up their... Is it like a stagger bar or something
kind of
that?
Kind of like a stagger bar.
Yeah.
So you're playing Wolong. Got it.
Pretty much, but it's an indie flavor of it, basically, where the colors are very important to how you parry. Like if most of your enemies are going to be like blue or is it blue and red, basically?
It's like a blue and red or blue and orange.
Yeah. What's the game that you compare it to that's pretty much identical to
Outland?
Outland, yeah. So like the enemies look very similar. It's like they're either blue or red, and they'll change colors on the fly.
And the enemies will glow with like these embers and flames coming out of your body. Like you it's very clear which mode you're. It's almost like two modes. I would think of it that way. So like if they're attacking with blue, you quickly switch. You have like the 2 triggers, and one switches your color, and the other one parries. So you quickly switch and parry. You're doing that a lot.
Yeah. You'll be doing that a lot, and then there will be a purple attack which is unblockable, and so you have to dash or whatever, evade any way you can. But once you do like get to stagger them to a point where you can defeat them, it's so gratifying, and it rewards you every single time. There's no like, oh, I didn't get a coin for that or whatever. Like, and you use that to upgrade certain elements of your skill set, basically. Like certain attacks become either more powerful, or you unlock entirely different attacks. Tim, didn't you unlock an attack that was like, oh, that was a really useful one or whatever? I didn't. I didn't get that far. But...
Yeah, no, I unlocked a couple different things, and I actually thought that the boss was pretty fun. Like at first, he's like this curious King Kong, and he's kind of friendly almost, but even though he's attacking you. But then after you really put the hurt on him, he becomes mean, and I'm like, oh, I just sent him on a rampage to like kill half the forest. Oops. Then you got to fight him again. He's much more mad at you. But yeah, I unlocked. One of the cool things I unlocked too is this. It's like a charged parry, which I had never seen in a game before, where you know an attack's coming, so you hold parry and then you release with timing instead of just tapping it with the right timing, and then you stagger them even more. So I thought that was a cool thing.
That is cool. Yeah, I saw that one in the unlock list. I just didn't get to it. Yeah. Yep.
And then upgrading your attacks as well. And I think it's a pretty cool little game, and it looks good. Like it's very.
It does look really.
I was gonna say the art style. I'm watching it.
Well, and I bet you on your system, Derek, it's gonna look gorgeous. Like on mine, it looked really good. I was like, I bet you on a high-end rig, this looks sharp.
Yeah, I have a mid-range, obviously, but it's still full 4K, and it was just. I love the colors of it.
But it's very really cool. Simple design, right? Like lots of flat spaces. You eventually go to like a foresty type area, which is a little more, but still the coloring isn't extreme. They keep everything pretty muted around you because it's all about what color you are and your enemies. So,
and everything that's happening is kind of your fault too, story-wise. Like you unlock something in yourself that causes everything around you to get corrupted, and you're just kind of fighting corruptions of yourself, more or less.
Corruption. Yeah. We're always fighting corruption. Just
but it's not an audible story to my memory. Like
they haven't said anything to me.
Yeah, it's very visual. The storytelling, you kind of have to piece together what's happening. There's another demo that I played. God, I have to look it up now in the notes. Wordless. This one is kind of similar, actually.
That's a great name.
Wordless is it's like it's kind of, I think it's side scrolling, and you also play another character that's kind of just like you're a beam of light with arms and legs. Like it's kind of it, and your enemies tend to be variations on that as well. But this one's different in the sense that it's what do you call it? Turn-based? Yes, it's turn-based, but your turns are times a really short amount of time that you can attack, and you can fling any attack you want at them. It's not like, oh, I have to pick this attack in this time. Like it's literally timed based. So you can throw magic attacks or melee, and then there's more magic attacks you can unlock that throw like ice or whatever at them. And some enemies will be weak to magic, some will be weak to melee. The tougher ones will put up like a shield in front of you, which means they're going to block your melee attacks, so hit them with magic. And when you get defeated, which will happen a lot, you just get knocked back. You don't die. You just get knocked back, and you have to come back and start the fight over.
So it's a 2D platformer.
It is. It's 2D, and it looks hand-drawn, so the animation is actually really cool.
A lot of similarities here.
It's got a Metroidvania feel to it, where you're kind of backtracking a lot, and you unlock like a jump and dash ability that gets you to higher places and unlocks more skills or what have you. So there's an upgrade system there too. It's good. It's really good. Bramble the Mountain King is the other demo I played, and this one is like a Little Nightmares type thing, but it's like a Nordic setting. They even start the game with like somebody singing in Norwegian, some old folk song, and so it's not Little Nightmares the aesthetically
this one
it's more like you're in a forest or something, and you're a tiny person and everybody around you is giant, and you're running away from like witches or something like that, and the demo ends right when you get captured, which is not a spoiler because you're going to play a different character in the game. That's just
I remember this one being revealed at one point.
Oh yeah, starting to ring a bell.
I recognize this. I forget which company, but I remember seeing this somewhere.
I had access to this, but I didn't get around to it.
I think it was Steam participated in like a Next. It wasn't Next Fest. It was something like that, where it was like indie games or whatever. Anyway, this one is more like Little
pretty.
Nightmares.
Is it really pretty? It looks really pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty in 4K. You can tell it's AA, but it is really pretty version of that. It's like Little Nightmares. There's like a lot of stealth elements where like you'll have somebody looking your way, and when they're not looking, that's when you move. And so really the only tools that you have at your disposal is like a light and like a dash ability or a run ability. And there'll be like an attack thrown at you, and if you get hit, you die like immediately. So you have to time when you're able to move. So it's that type of game. It's like a platformer adventure type of stealth oriented game. It's not action oriented.
Gotcha.
So it will only be for some people here. Let me just put it that way.
So this is the Gollum game we actually deserve.
This is the Gollum game. Yeah, I just like the scale of everything. Like I'm such a sucker for Little Nightmares did this too, where you're like a little tiny person, and everybody else is gigantic for some reason. I love
it's
that.
Terrifying. And it's terrifying.
Yeah, you like Tinykin and Plucky Squire looks fun.
Yeah.
Like you like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I just realized that. That's your theme.
That's my theme apparently.
Jeff must love Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I'm a
He's got a mini fetish.
Yeah, it's a mini. That's what it is. It's just a fetish at the end of the day.
Oh.
It's a mini fetish of a fetish.
I'm gonna guess that the opening episode of The Boys last season wasn't your.
Oh.
That was my dream scenario.
Jeff's like, please let that happen to me. Please let it happen.
Please.
I just want to be shrank down.
Gross.
I just want to tickle the inside walls of. Never mind.
Derek's like, I had blocked that out. I can't believe you reminded me of that.
That might be the grossest thing I ever saw.
It was up there. Yeah.
I mean, I saw the opening few seconds of Two Girls One Cup. That was probably the grossest thing I've ever seen.
Jeez. Yeah,
right,
that's pretty bad.
Anything else that you've heard from Jeff and Derek and I, Kyle and Dan? Anything else that you're playing that doesn't have to be new, like that you want to highlight? That you're.
I just threw it in there. Cult of Lamb. I actually did start that because my wife was like, "Oh, I thought somebody's streaming that," and I was like, "Oh yeah, no." Yeah, well, I mean, we basically had already started it. Although it is a good streaming game because you can install like an extension, and basically viewers can actually be like, "Oh, I'm one of your cult followers." Which is actually really fun. Yeah. Cool. But
is that a game you can play with your wife, or is it single player only?
It's single player. But she's enjoying just kind of watching it because all the animals are cutesy, but then it's very violent and like bloody because it's a cult, right? So, but you can choose to be kind of like a really like, I don't know, like a vicious cult or kind of like nice, so to speak, right? Like you can like instead of like when you're sacrificing someone, instead of having that tentacle monster like take them into wherever the hell it takes it, you can actually like kind of send them off into like heaven, so to speak. So like it gives you those options, and I like that when you're unlocking.
By hugging them instead.
Like a nice death. No hugs.
No hug deaths.
No hugging in the cults. No hugging. But I think it is really fun, and I like the art style of it, and the upgrade systems are fun. So
and the music's pretty fun too. It's just a good overall game.
Great.
Yeah, it's got a great vibe and great atmosphere, and I mean the combat isn't anything to like drive home about, but it's like it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. It gets the job done. And then I watched the Puss in Boots, the Last Wish movie.
That movie's so good.
Dude, the visuals of that movie, holy shit!
Like,
isn't that
it is anime AF, dude.
It's on Peacock. Yeah, it's on Peacock.
Okay,
so
I'll watch
anime inspired.
The thing that got me was I saw a clip of it's that scene in the beginning, Jeff, with the giant thing, and it's straight up an anime. It's just straight up like that whole action sequence there is like it's basically Attack on Titan. The way the camera's like panning around and the things that are happening, like that's what made
I would
me
even say like the guy that's chasing him the whole thing. I don't know, just
reminded
me of like an anime villain or something. Just his presence and the way he was animated and stuff.
Yeah, and the way that like Puss in Boots reacts to that.
Like the eyes, it's very expressive the way the anime is. Yeah, like and also my favorite part is still remains the 9 seeing his previous 8 lives and how they ended. That montage was so freaking funny.
But there's actually, I mean, it's not like a movie that's gonna be like, oh my god, this is like pushing boundaries of storytelling or anything. But there's like some pretty nice moment. Like there's the moment where the dog is kind of resting on his bed. Like that moment actually, like the way they did that, like felt very realistic. Like
pretty much everything with the dog was like a home run for me. Like it was just I don't know. It that movie was way better than it had any right to be.
Yes,
because nobody was asking for this movie.
No,
it ended up being one of the best animated movies of the year.
Like, I remember seeing like a poster or whatever for it, and I was like, didn't that already come out? I feel like they've already made. Like I didn't.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this?
Put it together, but then like seeing the reviews is awesome.
Like watching this movie for just the visuals alone. It's like the visuals are out of this world.
It's really gonna blow you guys away.
Watch that if you want to see a great animated flick. By all accounts, it's really great. Make sure you don't watch Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank. Really bad animated flick that we watched. But it's got a great cast, like Michael Cera and
that was the one I wanted to see.
Oh damn. Yeah, I like the cast in that one.
I thought it was bad, and I fell asleep for a chunk in the middle. But I also thought it was just bad.
That was when the movie was good, though.
I missed the good parts. Yeah.
You fell asleep.
But it wasn't funny either. Great. Like this has been done before with Kung Fu Panda, which I think actually are pretty well made and funny movies, and they're charming.
That's what I was wondering, is if they stole from things too much.
A little bit, but it's. What's this one called? The Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank.
You're not the only one to say that. That's actually why I didn't see it in the theaters, because I wanted to, and I asked my boys if they wanted to, but they weren't interested, which I was surprised. But then I saw a bunch of people like basically saying it was bad, and I was like, okay, maybe I don't want to see it.
It was a bad version of Kung Fu.
But you know what I've been
familiar to me at all.
You know what I've been re-binging, even though I've already seen it before. But it just takes me back to some of my favorite times in sports. I'm watching The Last Dance, that Michael Jordan and the Bulls.
Oh, that's so good.
Documentary. It's one of the best made documentary series I've ever seen.
I'm not nearly on the level of interested in sports that some of you might be, but that documentary is just so well
amazing.
done.
It's storytelling at its finest, and it's just so good.
Right.
So good. Anyway, I'm loving it.
Speaking of documentaries,
Jordan's like Xbox and Scottie Pippen's like Sony.
There you go. Nailed it.
If you watch that.
How dare you?
Maybe.
A lot of whining.
Yeah, well, you're Dennis Rodman in a wedding dress, all right? So.
Hey, speaking
Dennis
of
got some special treatment.
Speaking of docuseries, Jesus Christ. The Waco one just came out on Netflix, American Apocalypse. It's a 3-episode, whatever. I think Kyle watched it. Did you watch some of it or all of it?
I watched all of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to get through because it's just 3 episodes. This one, the interesting part to me, because you can easily it's just a Wikipedia basically for the most part. But the interesting part for me is interviewing people that were members of the cult, and some of them still believe, at least one of them still believes in like the tenets of being a Branch Davidian, whatever. Like she was like apologetic about, not really apologetic. She was like, no, there wasn't really, what do they call raping children or anything. Like there wasn't really any of that going on, because when you're 12 years old, you become an adult in that religion. And I'm like, oh my God.
Good Lord. Good
God.
So they're justifying it within the religion.
What I need to do. I just need to create a religion with my rules. And therefore, I'm not actually doing anything
there you go.
against
That's
people,
how you do
my
it.
rule is, okay, got it.
So that part was actually...
Somebody zoom in on Kyle's face as I'm talking.
It's a Branch Davidian.
Just play Cult of the Lamb instead. If you want to do a cult, just play the game. Play the Cult of the Lamb. Play that.
That part is actually the most enlightening part, because up until she literally said it, it's been refuted, and debated that stuff actually happened on the compound. Like people that were ex-members were saying, no, that stuff happened, and then people that were like the FBI were like, we can't find evidence. We can't find any evidence of this happening.
Yeah.
Not that you could. Everything burned down, so I don't know what evidence
burned down, and nobody
talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, speaking of documentaries that struggle to have evidence, I watched the MH370 documentary about the plane that disappeared. It's also on Netflix.
I don't remember this story, by the way.
So it's that Malaysian flight that was flying from Kuala Lumpur up to Beijing, China, and it sunk. It disappeared off radar in the South China Sea. It was in 2014. This was big news, like 9 years ago.
I don't remember this for some reason.
But I thought the documentary was really intriguing for the first episode and into the second, but then it starts to get a little bit like, they're going to end with this kind of like, but we don't really know. And that's kind of how
it's a very unsolved mystery, type of.
So is that the one where they suspect China shot it down?
It's possible that Russia did. That the people who think Russia. Okay. There's some folks who think it might even have been the U.S. who didn't want China to receive some stuff that maybe was on the plane. So anyway, there's a lot of. I thought it was interesting.
Real who's who.
And it kind of gets your conspiracy theory brain working a little bit. But
I think they just landed on the island from Lost because that island moves all the time. So
sure. Sure.
I don't find that stuff interesting. Like my ex-wife used to listen to, and this was like real stuff, like these real murder cases, and they would have documentaries on them, and they would go through them, and they were forever long. And I'm like, okay, who did it? And she's like, oh, they don't know.
Yeah, that was always
Oh,
always my joke about making a murder, where it's like,
I'm
well,
like-
at the end of it, you don't really know, but you have a pretty good idea. I'm like, I'm not watching 10 hours of that.
Yeah, why am I?
I'm not
I
watching
said,
that.
why are
Okay,
we?
actually, I can
why are
solve
we
the making a
listening to
murderer
this?
thing right now. He totally did it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the other thing is I don't need to watch 10 hours.
If you like
for
to see him
a-
solved,
for
I do
sure
like
this guy did it.
A&E has a series called Cold Case Files or Cold Cases or something like that. That they actually do bring up old cold cases that finally have some new piece of evidence or maybe DNA finally can be processed, and they do solve those. That's very satisfying. I do like those.
Yeah.
I like those. Yeah,
Speaking of that,
the Night Watch, whatever, the Night Watcher or the Night Stalker, whatever.
Oh,
like
yeah,
they found that guy
from the
40
80s.
years later or whatever.
Yeah.
Super down for that. There's
Yeah.
an ending to that story. That
That's
feels
what I-
good.
I
Like,
see what you're saying. Yeah,
No,
totally.
no, speaking of that type of thing where they find evidence later, the Boston Strangler, which was a movie about, and we talked about it on Current Cinema, they did the same freaking thing with that thing where they had this whole theory of like, well, it could have been this guy that confessed to it, or it could have been 3 other people, and then they found evidence for the last murder like way after the guy was dead. Like in 2013, they found evidence linking the final victim to the DNA of the guy who confessed. And it was like, oh, well, then, so you guys wasted a bunch of time. Thanks. Appreciate
yeah.
that.
and they caught him. You know, he actually,
Yeah, and
it
they
was,
caught the
it
guy
was the
who-
guy.
Yeah. People
So
prefer
anticlimactic.
conspiracies to real life. It really
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah, but yeah, so we definitely get into a documentary kick here and there.
Yeah.
But really just depends.
The other one I was watching was the Monster Factory. It's a pro wrestling. It's about a pro wrestling school in New Jersey. And yes, there are some wrestlers that I recognize in it, but I don't think any of you guys would because you don't watch anymore. But it is very that type of subject just interests the hell out of me because like, why would people want to do this? Like they're sacrificing a lot to do this, like in paying so much money to go to a school for it. Like why? Like I just don't.
They're just
I
passionate
enjoy
about
watching it, but I can never imagine doing it. It's just, I don't know.
They love wrestling. They're passionate about it. You know?
It's a good series though. I binged it all one night when I should have been sleeping. It was really
Well,
good.
speaking of sleeping, it's getting late. We should
Dude.
wrap this up. But
Big time.
like Jeff said earlier, make sure you go check out Current Cinema Podcast. They're going to talk John Wick spoilers this week, but that's not all they're going to talk about. And that's not what they talk about every week. They oftentimes will dig back into older flicks and older series. And so like, go check that out. Make sure you subscribe to that if you haven't yet. And I think that's pretty much it. I think we're good. I'm going to go play some more Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
I'm gonna beat this game.
It's okay.
I'm going to beat this game. So
Gotta
hey,
beat it
thank
for
you
the
guys for being
16th
here.
time.
Thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.